Okay, at 5:30 on Tuesday, May 26, 2026, I will call the monthly meeting of the Village of Sister Bay Plan Commission to order. Roll call.
Art here.
Eisler here.
Bell here.
White here.
Barnes here.
Okay. Approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Motion by Heidler,
Second.
second by White. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Approval of the meeting minutes from May 14th, 2026. That was a special meeting. Any additions, subtractions, deletions?
I'm always worried when I don't find anything.
I know. What? I worked hard on it. Yeah, sorry you did too, but.
Okay. We'll make a motion, we approve the minutes as presented. Motion by Bell,
Second.
second by Heidler. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Comments, correspondence, and concerns from the public? Yes.
I'm Bill Harbeck from Sister Bluff Estates. I have a couple comments on item 5B, which is a Luna View, and I can make them now or wait until that topic.
I think we'll wait till we get to 5B, so they're fresh in our minds.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else out there? Anyone remotely?
I do not see any hands.
Okay. We will go on to 5A. Development agreement coming of age in Sister Bay.
All right, so this is a follow-up from the site plan review from the last meeting for Coming of Age Sister Bay LLC. This is regarding the second duplex in development project. And essentially, as part of that meeting, it was proposed to have an amended development agreement to essentially provide the modifications to the project to include two 18-foot driveways consistent with the driveway plan that was reviewed on May 14th and the approval of the sunrooms. And then there was also clarification of the different screening requirements and the landscaping requirements for the project. It was confirmed as part of the existing development agreement that the propane tanks would be screened and that there was an existing landscaping plan that was approved as part of this project. So with that, staff put together the proposed amendment to the development agreement, which includes those related items and further clarifies the items that were discussed from the Planning Commission.
Okay.
And just a last item here, this would be the second amendment to the development agreement.
And I would like to recommend that we follow the recommendations of the May 27th, 2025 Plan Commission meeting and execute a new development agreement as opposed to another amendment because the other one was so far expired. And there are significant changes with the driveways, and we should be seeing a new drainage plan and in that with the change in detention pond.
So you're saying, like, I'm looking at what's on page 11 here, and we still have the old 28-foot driveway widths listed in there.
There's just a lot of things that have changed. And, you know, I don't see anywhere in what we've at least been provided that indicates building heights, that if we're within codes there.
So that was 25.5 feet that was clarified as part of it.
Yeah, I'm not sure where I saw that, but I thought it was.
I know you had mentioned that at the last meeting,
Yeah.
but we've not seen anything to indicate that we are within
Yeah,
code on heights.
so I mean, it's the same one that was there, and that was 25.5 feet that was proposed as part.
Yeah, if they report that, then there's no issues.
So if we incorporate all of the changes that we have in there, but we want a new agreement, do we want to see that come back here again, or could we push that onto the board so it makes it to the June board meeting?
I think if we're including everything and we've not seen the drainage plan, which changes significantly going from 2 ponds to 1. You know, we're just told it's gonna be made deeper, but we don't have anything that's indicating that it is truly a capacity for.
Sure. I'm just thinking about in terms of pushing it back, because that would make it go from a May to a July thing, and I understand that.
And I'm not trying to push it back farther, I'm just.
No, I'm trying to see, okay, well, what can we do? Because ultimately, if this were to come to the June meeting anyway, it's not getting approved tonight. So, but the challenge I see there is that it pushes it up to them, but I don't know, Garrett, when were you looking at breaking ground?
Yesterday.
Always yesterday.
After all these years.
Yeah,
But yeah, so there is the one building right now. It's essentially identical with the added sunroom. That's being added for the second units, and then the driveway changes are, I think, two big things.
So the heights don't change, so exactly what you see there is what you see, so the 25.5 that's there.
Okay, we haven't had copies of that, that was from previous.
so
If that's a height, that's not an issue, so that's a big deal.
I guess what you're saying that does resonate with me, Skip, is that drainage plan, because that can have a big impact on it. I think what would make sense is to approve these conditions and recommend it to the village board pending. I don't even know how we do
Approval
that.
of, but that's not gonna happen.
Yeah, that's a lot,
I
a
guess,
lot of heavy lifting for words to do
Yeah,
that.
I mean, there's a significant change to the front of the property with the
Yeah.
driveway changes, detention ponds, the.
Ben, what are your thoughts?
I mean, I can completely understand where you're coming from in terms of those related items, I guess, in terms of the revision, I mean, it does incorporate the related items, if there is things that can be submitted post approval for any drainage plans for review for the village board. I think that would keep the project within the timeline that would be proposed. But otherwise, I think the core items that were discussed at the last meeting were included, and that, yes, it has lapsed, but the amendment to the development agreement would extend the timeline.
Well, I was just going based on our minutes from a year ago, and when he came to us with proposed changes then. It was suggested that because there was no resolution to it, that would require a new agreement, so. We're a year later, and
At least, so at this one, it had an amendment that was essentially in draft format, because this was something that was received in November at the time, and it was initially anticipated to move forward at the time before the end of the year, but just with some different changes, it was pushed back. And so this, at least the intention previously, was the understanding that it would be an amendment as part of it. And that was just the understanding when discussing it. I see that it does say with the development agreement, but I know specifically at the meeting that I think it was discussed that it would be as part of the amendment. But if it is a new one, I mean, there are things that can be changed as part of it to include those items. But we'd probably want to see the landscaping plan and the drainage plan prior to having that be formally approved.
correct.
So then, I guess what I'm not following you entirely on there, Ben, is you said that, are you advocating we do it as an amendment here? Or are you saying that we could start it over fresh, or it doesn't really matter one way or another?
I think it could be an amendment. I think it'd be a little bit of an easier process to extend it, since it is an existing development agreement, whether or not it's active or not. The amendment would extend it for the period of time with the items that were discussed. But if there are concerns regarding the other items, yes, we could take the core development agreement, change the items, but we probably would want to review the items that would have changed as a result of this, if we wanted to move forward. But I think the amendment to the development agreement would be acceptable.
So.
That's not
would
a
rather-
solid answer.
I would just assume have this be.
I'm
an
playing
amendment
both
to it, and
sides. I think the
understand.
amendment's acceptable, but if you did want to move forward because you don't feel, the plan commission doesn't feel
What-
comfortable.
What do you see the benefit of having a new agreement, Skip?
And I'm not looking at it monetarily, I mean, that
Sure.
part, it's about
Yeah.
getting all the details in place so they're all in one spot to look at, instead of something that's rolled over 4 years or 3 years, where details get lost. And if something delays it again, you've got the 2-year window to do it, and we're not coming back for another amendment.
Can I make a comment of the structure or ask
Yeah.
a question?
Go ahead, Karen.
In many cases, like it was hinted there a minute ago, like a post setting or a post, whatever requirement, and it triggers a certain follow benchmark from that. The two sheets you're referencing, a landscape sheet and a drainage sheet, are really just two sheets from the engineer to update. You know, to ask if the commission approved this tonight, that we make that contingent on, you know, pick a benchmark date there down the line. It just, we'd love to, it gets so hard right now. We were just talking in the way about concrete timing and some of that stuff too. It's, you miss a week and you're off 3 months. It's really crazy right now. I would hate to lose that. If we can somehow provide those dates as a post action, we'd gladly do that.
Yeah, I don't wanna speak.
Say, could I ask you to state your name, please?
Sure, you're David.
Thank you.
But it's about requesting the board to approve it when we don't have all the information approved with development agreement or the amendment.
I understand, and go ahead.
I'm sorry, so you're saying, in order to send this to the board, for the board to look at it and approve it, it needs to include the updated driveway plan and a landscape drainage plan, so the
We as a
architect or
commission-
engineer could update that, send it in, so it makes it into the board packet.
But we as a commission have to be comfortable with sending something to the board, feeling confident that it's complete. And if we're not having an opportunity to review anything until it gets to the board, I find that incomplete.
So I think where I'm struggling is a little bit, Skip, is if we wanted a new development agreement, that's probably something we should have said in the 14th of May.
And I'm not gonna die on that mountain.
Okay, I think it is, I completely agree with you on the drainage and the driveway, lines, that should be memorialized in here, and it should be something that is part of this.
Do we have paperwork documents what
Yes.
it is?
Yeah, no, that one, I'll stay on that mountain with you, Skip. I don't know that we need to bring it back here for that. I mean, that's really going to put Laurel and Jerry out on this decision, is really what is ultimately gonna happen. I think it's important we acknowledge that. I think I don't think it's unreasonable to say we should have started over from scratch in a development agreement. I think we should have done that previously. What I would like to see us do is, let's name the items, well. If we're gonna repackage all this information, why not just have it be a new development agreement then, I suppose? Understanding that the things that we're looking at changing on is the driveway and the drainage, and if that's the only things that are changed in this development agreement. I would be comfortable recommending that to the board, but I really would like to know what Laurel and Jerry feel about that, since they're the
Well,
ones where.
I don't like seeing him be put off longer and longer. But is there something that he might be able to start in the construction that we could still get this to the board the way you want it? So it's all in one package. Because I don't see that we're gonna deny this. It's already been approved in some fashion a couple years ago. So. I mean, what do they start doing with construction? Or do you just say you cannot start construction until you have everything in order and lined up?
But what would first? What would be the first thing you'd be working on, Garrett? Correct.
Clearing land.
Clearing land?
So we have the clearing, that would be the first thing, to look at foundations and start that work. I think, you know, the nice part is, as I mentioned, the driveways in the site plan itself could be updated tomorrow. The landscape plan could absolutely come back here, because we're not gonna be putting in landscaping until, honestly, probably a year from right now, like next spring. So that could certainly come back here. We have no problem with that at all.
Yeah, that is one that could be tied to the occupancy permit
Yeah.
without any
Yeah.
issue,
Yeah.
but drainage and.
I mean, like when you start moving the land, like with the drainage plan is pretty important
Yeah.
to have that.
Yeah. Again, like that's already essentially calculated. They just need to update the plan for that, so that I'm sure we could have very quickly.
But in any case, I mean, you weren't expecting to start moving until the board meeting, were you?
I think June 15th, we technically teed up with our contractor, so forgive me, I don't know your exact date.
June 16th.
Okay. Yeah, we would. So yes, well, the right week, we like that.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm comfortable sending it to the board as long as those updates are included in it. In the board packet, as long as it's okay with you too.
So one thing that we've done in the past on a different committee and a different administration, so may not be as allowable, but there was a particular parks building thing where we had most all the details. And there was one thing the engineer had to get back and we wanted to make the next board meeting. And so it was decided as part of the motion that if they sent us the thing that we needed and we reviewed and no one had objections, then it could proceed. But if there was even one objection, then it had to go to the next meeting before the board to get reviewed.
Well, I think that we should make it contingent for it to come to the meeting that we're gonna have the new driveway plan and the drainage plan. Otherwise, we don't even put it in the packet. I don't think that's I don't think you're saying that's a problem at all.
No.
I'm
But
trying,
I think what I'm saying, if it could be emailed to the plan commission ahead of that for a visual review. And if no one has any objections, it's cleared for the board agenda. It's kind of a.
let's make sure we get your input on there and then I will make sure that if your two input will be heard at the board level. I don't wanna say that any one person would have a veto vote because you never know. I mean,
Sure.
but at the same point, do I think it's good to have your input on there? If you have any concerns, absolutely. And I don't think you should
Well,
have to
and
go
it's
to
a way to
that.
help keep it moving
Yeah.
forward without having to maybe skip a month because we missed a little thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't think there was clarity last time that we were looking at an amendment versus an agreement.
that's fair. I think the other thing that as you start dealing with this and you're clicking through, looking at the amendments and the amendment, that's where having everything in one location. I mean, I guess that's where some of that came from, Skip, is it is difficult
Yeah.
to follow the train of thought.
And
with
that's
that.
kind of why I was thinking that we should be starting with a new one. Is it possible to get a new one in place for the board?
Yes, I
That's
mean,
where, you know, if I may speak, Eric Chandra, it's one of the partners with Peter. We've owned the property about 3.5 years. And we've been to about 10 of these meetings, and a lot of times it's kind of a little tweaks here, a little tweak there. Built the last unit, 2 summers ago, we finished it in December. And, essentially have all the drainage plans, that were previous, and then need to more or less kind of update with the same, square footage to kind of meet the requirements, that type of thing. But I think, in good faith, we intend to submit that, as soon as we can, next couple days. And then certainly give you guys the opportunity to review. And then, if you guys didn't like it, certainly happy to come back and talk more. With our builder, we have multiple contractors kind of lined up to start, as soon as we can. So that's just kind of where we're at right now with everything.
Okay, I'm thinking through the mechanics here of how I think this could work, because I don't believe we could actually have it emailed to everybody in the plan commission, have all of us weigh in on it. I think that we could have it emailed to Laurel and Jerry and have them give feedback to Ben, and then Ben can relay that along. I think we don't go follow the open meetings laws if we do that.
yeah, I mean, it'd be in terms of an advisement really, or if there's any input as part of it, but in terms of your question for the development agreement, yes, I mean, essentially the details are swapped out for the section that's applicable. And then it's referenced for the revised landscaping and drainage plan that would be included as part of the date. So I mean, if we're just looking at doing the drainage plan as part of it, it would be the
Drainage
date.
driveway, and because the
Yes.
driveway affects the
Mhm.
drainage.
Yes, so I mean, as part of it, it would just be listing the date that it'd be approved, which would be the board meeting as listed in it. So what I'm saying is it's swapping out the details. It's very similar to what it is for the amendment. It's just actually swapping out the language.
But it's getting all the plans back included in it and
Yes.
everything else, which is,
I mean, I think it more than anything it's not necessarily having the new development agreement, it's just repackaging everything together.
Yeah,
So
but
they
that's
call
how,
it a new
that's how
agreement
you
or
do
not.
it is.
Yeah, seeing an amendment as a separate document, so. Let's go with it, if as long as that works, Ben, let's go with a
Yeah.
fresh one, and we're not going to change details other than those 2 items mentioned, but then it's all
And what we
together.
put in at the last meeting. What we talked about.
Yes, yes. And then you guys will see that in the coming days, and then we'll hopefully have that go to the board on the 16th.
One other quick, potentially naive question. Is the screening for the propane tanks, is that generally spelled out as part of the landscaping plan, or would that be part of the like architecture look, or
So-
how does that usually done?
Yeah, That's already included as part of the language within the development agreement. I can't recall which section it is.
Well, it says that it will be screened, but I wasn't sure if we specifically call out what it's screened with, or if that needs to be planned, or if that's usually just a
That is,
detail that's handled on the side.
Usually, what I've seen it in the landscape
Yeah.
plans, whether it's a fence or vegetative screening.
So that might come later as part of the updated landscape.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was it was included as part of it. I don't know if it was called out specifically what it was, at least in the language, I do not believe that.
I do not remember seeing anything specific about
Yeah.
how it be screened.
Yeah, I think it just said screened is what I noted.
do we have consensus on that, or do we need a motion, Ben?
If you wanted to just give to, well, I guess in terms of a motion, it would be preferable if we're sending off a new development agreement to the village board. It'd be preferable to have a motion.
We'll make a recommendation to the village board pending additional information to be distributed to citizen members of the plan commission.
Do we need to spell out what that additional information is, or is it sufficient that
Mm.
Ben's got it captured?
We should probably say what it is, the drainage plan and the new driveway, the driveway layout.
In reference to the landscape plan. Prior to occupancy permits.
Yeah, I think that's already just.
It should be in there, but.
Yeah, okay.
And then we were talking about replanting along the streets, that's part of the landscape
Yeah.
plan too, is a tree replacement.
So I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Motion by Bell, second by Hans. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, 5B. Get us up here to speed, Ben?
Yes, absolutely. So this is the revised site plan, plat submission for the Luna View submission. At the last meeting, there was discussion regarding the different requirements, that were proposed, as part of this project, specifically was regarding the different parking requirements, as well as the revision to the, Unit 301 as part of the project. What was discussed as part of this is that there'd be a revised development agreement or amendment to the development agreement that'd be proposed as part of this. It also included some different items that were discussed as part of the roof, which was currently painted white, and that it would be mitigated as part of this to have a more to have an aesthetic that's more closely aligned with what currently exists on the project site. So based on the different feedback that was included, there was a revised development agreement that included revisions or modifications to Unit 301 rooftop and revisions to additional parking areas attached here in two, as shown in the site plan reviewed by the Plan Commission on May 14, 2026. An amendment to the approved building materials and colors to include a condition that the rooftop color is to be mitigated from the existing white. So that language was directly taken from the motion that was approved at the previous meeting. And then we did have a resident who did stop in today who also wanted to provide some additional feedback as a neighbor to the property.
And I believe our discussion also included color change to the pergola and the stairway access up there. It wasn't just the rooftop, it was some of the structures rooftop, because that's where we had talked about putting some doors on that.
Closing it, yeah.
Because right now, from a horizontal perspective, you see a white wall at the top of the stairs, that stairway, and then the background of the pergola area is all white.
I don't know if he said exactly that he would change the color of that. I think he was saying either he would change the color of that or he would enclose it. And the exterior
Something
color
weird.
would end up looking like the rest of the building.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But I just wanted to make sure we captured also that related to that stairway structure and the pergola,
and not just the roof. Yeah.
not just the rooftop.
Yes, sir.
I'm Bill Harbeck. I have a condo up on the bluff in Sister Bluff Estates. Have for 16 years and had another place in Sister Bay that we come to enjoy for 10 years before that. Some other people here are also owners at Sister Bluff Estates. And we're here with respect to the color aspect of the proposed amendment to the development agreement relating to the roof and the structures there. To give you a 30-second background, back last summer, when the developer had proposed extending the building time and sought the neighbors' feedback on that, we wrote a letter saying, as good neighbors, we didn't object to that, but, and we raised the issue about the bright white roof that you could see clearly, even when it was fully leaved out, that we are all very surprised to see. At the plan commission meeting where they talked about this, that it came up, and at that point, the prior village administrator said, well, that had been approved, the white roof had been approved. It's very surprising to me because I looked at all of the documents and couldn't find that anywhere. So I had some back and forth with the prior village administrator saying, please show me where, because I've looked at the development agreement and the specs, nowhere is it pointed out, doesn't even show the white roof, nor does it show that it's gonna, doesn't show the flat roof, doesn't show that it's a white color. The only coloring that was approved were the shingles, which were to be like a gray weatherwood. So we had that back and forth, and then she transitioned out. At one point, she said to me in an email, well, yeah, I now see what you're talking about. It's the roof that's supposed to be shingled. Then the new administrator has stepped in, and I followed up with some discussions and a letter to him that I know has been shared maybe with some of you. So we're here about the white roof, and I looked at the village, the plan commission video, and there are two aspects that we have a concern about. You're exactly right. There were two things that were talked about: the white roof, and then this structure that has two walls, two tall walls that are pure white that surround this pergola. And that's white, so the whole right side of this is white. And there was some discussion by the developer. He said, I can either enclose that or repaint that. And then there was a discussion about the roof itself. So we'd like to make sure that it's clear that his obligation to mitigate this one is to mitigate the color of the wall itself and the surrounding white structure, either by enclosing it, although it's a wall already. I don't know why you put another wall around the wall. Up to him if he wants to put some wood grain or something. And then the roof itself. And the only concern I had about many of the commissioners said, you ought to blend in, make it blend in. Mitigation is kind of an ambiguous term, which in my prior life, I was a lawyer and I thought, you know, you throw in ambiguous terms and then that's when people have fights about it because it's not clear. So rather than use language like that, why not say it needs to blend in with some earth tones, either the existing shingle color. We'd be happy with the shingle colors on the yacht club, which you can look down, which are kind of a nice brown, but we appreciate having a little more specificity. So there's not any argument down the road. Well, I did this. It's now, so one of my fellow owner said, well, they could make it a crew. And I said, what's a crew? It's like an off-white. I said, that's not the intent. I know what your intent is, but I think it'd be better just to be precise and more specific. So there isn't a question about what needs to be done and the reason you're doing it. So I appreciate the time.
Okay, thank you. And that letter is why I actually brought it up last meeting. So
Right,
I
right.
did see it and was thinking about you guys.
Yeah, and I realize that.
So do we want to be more, I think to his point, we should be more specific about mitigating. We should say matching colors. The only other thing I started thinking is, what does earth tones really mean? Because once you start picking
Yep,
at
yep,
stuff,
yep,
you've got
yep.
to keep picking at it. Is that sufficiently specific? And I think I would say earth tones that are,
Are you talking browns and blacks? You talking greens? Are you talking, and
I-
that's why
yeah.
I
Well,
agree with you.
I think it's a matter of saying earth tones that are or that are in the same family, or find better language in the same family of the existing rooftops that are in the view. So it's gonna be close to those same colors. That sounds like
Yeah,
that's effectively what you're,
if it looked like the yacht club, it would be perfectly fine. We'd still see it, but we wouldn't, you know, wake up and have to put sunglasses on.
okay.
What is the color of the yacht club roof? And
It's
I mean, the shingles that they have currently on this building are in the black and brown mixed, as I recall.
Would it be bad if the rest of it, I've not been up where you are looking down. We've only been from the ground looking up, right? So we can see that there's like a white wall and a white pergola. So what is the white on the roof made of? Like, is it sitting down in it?
I think at the last meeting, he said it was rubber.
Yeah,
It's
a
rubber.
Like
I
a white
wouldn't-
rubber membrane?
Yeah,
I think,
You
something
know,
like.
like a downtown building will have the front and the sides raised and then they put their air conditioners on top and it's like lowered, like a lowered section. Is that what it is?
It's the whole roof. It's from one end to the other. There's an equipment section and also, I guess, whether you call it the penthouse or an observation for that unit at the
Has
end.
the thing on top.
But it's the whole roof that's white, and then there's the structure, which includes a pergola, which it has two sides of a white wall, tall white wall, it's probably 10 or 12 feet, something like that,
Yeah,
that surrounds at least two sides that you can see from the back. I don't know what it looks like from the front, and whatever it looks like from the front, if
Yeah.
there's some white trim that goes along the sides of those walls that looks out towards the bay, we don't care about that.
right,
It's
right.
this structure that's,
I'm just thinking, if it's a white rubber membrane. Is it going, this is getting specific. Is it going over the top of a structure like a roof, or is it down in it? Cause I'm
Right.
thinking you can't cover something that's
It's-
not level with shingles. It would have to be over the top.
it would have to be painted.
well, it's a flat roof.
It's a flat.
So it's a mansard roof, so the peaks come like this and then it goes straight across. And we think that the reason it went from I think the original concept was
Cause
that
it was too high.
it was too high, so he could get more levels by flattening it out. So it's just up like this and then it flattens and it goes the entire length of the building, which you can't see at all from below, but you can see it very prominently.
No, I can see how that would be offensive. Like a white reflecting in your face.
Unfortunately,
Can
the
you
reason they
paint
use
rubber?
white is because it reduces heat.
Right.
pressure.
That's what we saw last
Yeah.
meeting too.
What if it were like light gray? And do we know, we don't even know if we can paint it, if he can paint it.
He said he thought he could,
But they coat them.
yeah,
Yeah. I don't
It
know.
won't last forever, but they can coat it.
I mean, eventually that white won't be quite as white, but that's a long time.
It'll be
Wait,
a crew, a crew something.
Yeah, I suppose this would be it's gonna, he's not. It'll go back as a surprise. But,
He's not, if I can, I'm sorry to interrupt. He
no,
won't be surprised by this because when I was talking with the prior administrator, she was having communication with him,
yeah.
also saying, did this get approved? And he didn't give her anything, but he's very aware of the issue from our standpoint, that this is a problem that we noticed when they were under construction.
I definitely would call something out in there.
So should we say a brown or tan earth tone? I think that's.
Or gray.
Or like what a light gray, yeah, I'm just trying to think of something that isn't so dark that it absorbs heat, if the goal was to.
Well, you're gonna have one or the other. It's not.
I guess I'm also looking at what's there. I just did a quick Google Street View of what, cause I thought I remembered what color the yacht club roofs are, and it's pretty close. It's a tan. It's a very light brown. It's weathered. So it's or gray. It also looks kind of gray too, so I don't.
Yeah, so.
What if we
Present
see,
the approved building materials and colors to include a condition that the rooftop colors be mitigated from the existing white to an earth tone color such as,
an earth tone brown, tan,
or
or
gray?
gray?
Yeah, I wouldn't say such as, because there's too many earth.
Yeah,
tones
that's-
otherwise.
Such as brown, tan, or gray. And then what, if he has questions on that, please refer to the yacht club review.
At
Yeah,
least based on the last meeting, he was pretty amenable to.
Fixing it.
Yes, that it was that.
And then are we still saying something else about the pergola on the walls then?
So this, I guess it just depends on the language. As part of it is that if there is additional language about reducing the visual impact of the language that was included for the mechanical room.
Do you know what, am I not seeing it?
think it just references it, it doesn't give any specifics, at least that's what I recall.
Yeah, so I mean, just based on the motion, just wanted to clarify what would be included as part of the development agreement for mitigating the visual impact.
I think we just want that to match the roof ideally, whatever colors picked for that.
Where does it talk about this pergola and stuff in the new development agreement or the amendment?
It's what,
So it, just based off of this, it was based off the rooftop color visual impact to be reflected. So there was some discussion. I wasn't certain if it wasn't included in the motion, it should be included. It can be in terms of the mechanical structure, mechanical area, which can include some additional language.
Okay, so let's look at actually amending this here. Let's go piece by piece and decide what we want to change there. So I think that the rooftop color,
What page?
I'm on page 20. So I'm looking at the last sentence of the first, the second paragraph. It starts at, yeah, whereas. And it says, include a condition that the rooftop color is, and that's where I think we change it. So not to be mitigated from the existing white, but the rooftop color is to be a brown, tan, or gray earth tone.
Can you add approved by the board? A color approved, so he just submits a color that,
It's gonna have to, I mean, that's gonna,
It,
you'd have to approve it, Ben. I mean, like, that would be. It would be a little bit strange to say that color choice would go back to the board.
yeah, there are a few
Okay.
different options that would be as part of it.
But then, so if he didn't do that, then he wouldn't be in compliance with the development agreement. So it's not like, and that's why I said earth tones, because there's a lot of colors that are
Yeah.
brown and gray or tan that may not be
yeah,
compatible. So that's where I think we change that. Then what else do we wanna?
In the text before the agreement, it talks about screening the rooftop mechanical equipment, which is what I think the other white being referred to is. That's
No,
not
it's-
mentioned in the agreement.
it's their
so-
deck area. And. Or the stairway that goes up.
So that probably needs to be added in. Right after this, right? Because it's not in the signature to be signed page mentioned at all.
Right. So what do we want that language to be?
We could say roof. Stairway and rooftop structures as well as rooftop color. I mean, make it all blend.
So is he, I think some of that he was saying he might enclose, which at the end of the day, I don't think it matters that much if he encloses it or not. I understand you don't want to you don't enclose a wall with a wall. That doesn't make sense, but.
Well, he was talking about
Some of
putting
that.
doors on the front
So they-
seat.
You thought we were concerned about the white color from the front,
Okay,
because putting doors on it would keep you from seeing any white trim or whatever. from
Except that it
the
doesn't-
street side, but
doesn't
not
address
from
the
your
stairway.
side. Yeah. So maybe we also read and also update the roof structures.
Oh, that's the pergola.
okay.
Yeah, that plus the roof, so they're seeing these walls
So
as
then-
well.
We want to include the wall as being painted and then
Yeah.
the pergola, that's where he might choose to enclose it.
Yeah.
Is
So
it
we-
sufficient to say white roof structures?
Well, but the stairway is not a roof structure, that's why that's a very prominent.
These and.
This is the stairway up and then this is the stairway below.
So we need to say stairway and roof structures.
Yeah, stairway and roof structure.
And then we still should say either and pergola unless enclosed.
Yeah, I would just say and pergola.
Okay,
for rooftop and pergola.
yeah, because if he's enclosed it, you could say.
Yeah.
Rooftop pergola.
Yeah.
Roof structures, stairway.
And you got the stairway enclosure.
And again, I've not seen it from the back. Is the actual pergola, not the walls? Are they two different things?
Well, they've got a white wall behind it.
Okay, what if, okay.
And then
this is
just
gonna
open.
sound silly, what if you painted the wall pergola white, would that be bad? I don't know what it looks like from
The
above.
pergola is a wood, it's wood slats that go across, there's two walls like this.
Uh-huh,
And then you can see from the top, you can see the wooden slats barely. I
yeah,
mean, that's a great color, but that's just the
And
roof and you
yeah,
can
that
barely
was
see that. It's the wall that surrounds it.
okay,
in
so
that
the
area.
pergola, so does the pergola matter if it gets painted or not?
I don't, if the,
As long as
the
the walls
slats
are?
themselves are wood, it looks like they're made out of wood, they're fine. It's the surrounding structure, which I guess defines the area of the pergola, which includes the little pergola wall.
It is those walls.
I'm just thinking, if I'm hiring, you know, we don't wanna go too far, if I'm hiring a painter. You know, having to paint every wood slat in a pergola, like, is that really
The
what?
wood's
we're
not
asking
the
you to
issue,
do?
that's already earth tone. That's natural.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, yeah,
oh,
yeah,
oh,
yeah.
I thought it was white.
No,
Okay.
No,
no,
it's just all the white stuff.
it's wood.
Oh,
I'm sorry, wooden color too. Yeah.
Okay. Well, at least they don't paint out,
Right.
Okay,
but yes, I would call out all of the items you want to not be white.
we've got the rooftop. The
Pergola walls.
pergola walls, the stairwell.
Stairway enclosure.
Stairway.
Yeah.
And then in there, did we ask him to screen the mechanicals, or is that happening? Or is that, I don't know, is that
I
even
don't think that
required?
was-
I only asked because it was talked about in the staff report portion of it.
That was something that was previously discussed, so it was somewhat in terms of the mitigation, it was kind of open-ended about what that would mean as
Mhm.
part of it. Of where essentially that as long as that things were mitigated, that would be sufficient as part of it, and it somewhat was left open-ended so that if it needed to be, you know, screened or painted or changed, you know, color, whatever, it would end up being that as long as there was the white was gone. That was somewhat the intention.
Yeah. I don't know what it looks like. I think you'd have I think it'd be tough to screen mechanicals.
You can't screen
Up
mechanicals
top.
from above, no.
Right. You could have screening around, but you would, if you're looking directly down, you'd still see them no matter.
Maybe it's mostly about getting rid of that white expanse.
Yeah.
If I could just throw in on the specs itself, it shows equipment area with a wall on the top of the building. It shows like fencing around the equipment area, so that was the original intent. I don't know if that's even done right now, because I just see the white. But it did show some kind of screening around the equipment.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. Well, I suppose you'll see right away once the roof is painted.
If we specify roof structures, I think that would fall under a roof structure, so it should be not white.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can say in there, and mechanical screening, if you're calling out things to be painted. And then if it's not there, he'll know right away that. Not there.
I'm not sure that we've asked for screening in that circumstance. Like you say, Skip, you can't entirely.
They wouldn't be
close.
they wouldn't
Yeah.
do additional screening because the
No.
mechanicals are already
Right.
below the horizontal roof level.
So then it's just gonna be any screening there is also, I think we call that a fixture.
Mhm. Yeah. Funny, this is one of those situations that you don't come upon it until you come upon it. Like for all of these other things, there's certain depths and all these things you need to be from your neighbors, and if you're building near residential, you have to have a giant buffer and you have to have screening, but no, you know, when you're writing that, you don't think of someone looking down on someone else.
Usually
So-
above the roof.
Yeah, so sorry, you're the guinea pigs.
This is-
But we will know going forward.
Looks like a back.
This is what
Think
years
about
of
all angles of a building.
being on plan commission for years, you get burnt by certain things and those are the things that stick with you.
Oh, okay.
Right.
So one of the other things mentioned was parking reconfiguration. I don't have the benefit of seeing what it was before, but what changed with the parking?
So essentially there was additional parking that was included for guests, essentially along the driveway area. And that there was previously spaces that were there for guests within the existing parking lot, so it just was the re-identification and the inclusion of those new parts.
So is there a net change in the parking or not?
So there would be the 2 additional parking spaces that were.
And do those actually fit there? Because if you look at it, like if you drive past there now, there's retaining wall and about a normal sized road width. And if you're adding parking spots there, that is gonna get quite tight.
We were guaranteed that there was adequate dimension there. I don't disagree with you because I've been out to the site, looked at it, and I'm not sure you could get an ambulance up that hill with. Or make the turn with cars parked there.
That was something that came up last meeting. The other thing is, I think he said there's also a sidewalk on the other side of it, so you can get it all the way up.
Yeah, they're just, they don't have that bump up. Yeah, where they have it asphalted up there now and it's.
So the wall is kind of right up against the edge of the road. There's not really a spot of bumping towards the wall for parking.
Yeah, we were told there was gonna be 3 or 4 feet there and then the parking spots and I don't.
There's supposed to be a sidewalk, roughly a sidewalk width between the car and the wall. That does not look like that on
I'm not sure how that's possible, but
the, okay. Is there anything we want to amend on the parking?
So as part of the parking plan, I mean, that was just identified as what was included as part of the site plan that was identified. I mean, it can deviate in terms of calling it out, but if there is gonna be any changes to the parking, it might be beneficial for them to change their site plan.
Well, I guess what I'm thinking, do we want to call out there that we're skeptical that that's going to have enough space there? It doesn't hurt for us to say we approve this. With this understanding, saying, yes, we're approving this because we believe there's enough room between the parking spot and the wall to open a car door. Or whatever that looks like. It's not something we've typically done, but
I mean, it might be a bad assumption on my part, but I'm assuming when it was approved, it's meeting the bare minimum of parking spots for that structure. And if those 2 guest spots don't exist, does that mean it no longer meets the minimum parking requirements?
it met before those 2 were added.
Okay, so those are just bonus.
Yeah.
Okay, then I'm a little.
So
less
it's
concerned.
essentially additional spots for the units is what is there within the primary parking lot, and then moving some of the ones that were identified for guests over to that additional spot. That was I guess, the summary of the change.
Which is good. I mean, otherwise you're taking up street parking, you people.
Okay,
So just to clarify, should there be language calling out specifically for parking?
I mean, I'm not that I'm not skeptical of it, but I don't know how to, that's a lot of words held to throw at it.
And if it meets the minimum requirements for the code without them, then I don't see a point of being stickling about it.
I'd be inclined to approve this with the changes that we talked about with the rooftop, the stairs, the structure, pergola. And anything else that was mentioned.
Yeah, and the earth tones for brown, tan, and gray.
Is that a motion, Nate?
I'll make the motion. Motion by Bell,
Second.
second by White. All those in favor?
I,
Opposed, motion carries. Okay, zoning code interpretations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so this is the zoning code interpretation for temporary banner display request from shop. As part of this, there was a request for a sign permit that there would be a temporary banner that would be displayed daily during the established lunch hours for the establishment. And that essentially after the lunch hours were done, it was proposed that the banner would be removed as part of the temporary signage regulations for the village. it is not generally considered allowable, at least from my interpretation, that it would be considered for a daily temporary use. And that banners would not be considered an acceptable sign that would be utilized as part of this. So generally, when discussing this, just wanted to have a policy interpretation from the plan commission to see whether or not this would potentially be allowable with anywhere within the code. And really, like I said, it's the intent behind this is that it would be, you know, specifically for a daily use, but it would be temporary in the way that it would not be there for the entire portion of the day.
And I think from an administrative note,
And then
the sections cited, don't match, so they like
It'd
need to
be
be updated to.
607,
720 through 750.
yes, that was a carryover as part of it. So it'd be yes, for 720. And then 722 cites a lot of the other ones. But the content of the items is also correct.
I think that we already have something that functions as this in the village. And that's sandwich boards.
And 714.
And
Yeah.
flags.
Yeah, so I don't,
I mean, if I remember correctly, flags, you're allowed to have 3 to a business. That could say lunch or, you know, like you do open flags and other stuff.
yeah,
It looks a little more professional for, it's not like a coffee shop with a sandwich board.
But sandwich boards could also be utilized to say, you know, here's a lunch special
Sure.
this day, or,
Sure,
because they have to change, they can't just be static
depends on.
unless you.
yeah, I guess what I'm saying is we have a mechanism to
Yeah.
do this already. I would agree that this is, I would not consider this a temporary sign. I don't think that it's.
I don't think it is either. I mean, to me, the description that they were giving here was for like, if there's an upcoming festival or something, or you're good, you know, whatever it is, you've got a temporary sign that goes out a couple days ahead of time. It stays out and then you remove it permanently. It wouldn't be something that you take out every single day. I don't think that's what this is.
Anybody disagree with that?
I don't.
Okay, I think you've got your interpretation then.
We're calling it in terms of a sign, of an allowable sign, just one step further when we're looking at the approved list. When we're talking about what it is, are we calling it a flag?
No,
Or we're just saying in terms of a regular
we're
sign?
calling it a sign and saying that it does not.
Okay,
Yeah, just removing the sign every day doesn't make it a non-permanent.
Yeah, and I remember, now that I'm thinking about this, a conversation that we had at Plan Commission years ago that says. Lunch wasn't a special occasion that didn't have, it wasn't a
It
unique
happens
event
every
every
day.
day, yes. So it was,
Open flags, people have open.
Yeah, some have that, but it certainly is a spot where a flag that says lunch can be put out at lunchtime.
Right,
And,
like on.
I mean, I get that,
or
you know, it's a
something.
change of business model, they're probably looking to draw people in, those are all good things,
Oh, for sure.
but.
Yeah.
And the sandwich board is also in the code that could serve the
Yeah.
same purpose.
Yeah, both of these.
and we're not
mechanisms.
concerned about the materials at all.
Well, those are already spelled out in
and
examples in the examples section of sandwich
This
boards.
isn't- Yeah, this isn't a temporary sign, so I don't know that the materials are relevant.
yeah. I
Well, I'm
think
just
maybe-
saying in terms of the construction standard for a normal sign. I really want this to exist. I'm just making sure that we're all good with, in terms of calling it a sign, meeting the requirements for the sign materials and what goes along.
Well, I think we're disagreeing with it.
It's not a set.
It's not a temporary sign.
It's not a temporary
I'm
sign,
saying a
so nothing
regular
else.
sign in terms of,
You mean if it were a regular sign instead of the sign shop?
no, so I'm saying we're approving a sign. So I mean, a flag is obviously a different than a sign, and when we're talking about a sign, there are specific requirements that are associated with a sign. And that, you know, that it would be the specific materials that would be associated with it and the different standards that are associated with a sign as well.
And if they
This
want to
wouldn't be a
use,
sign either, it's
Yeah.
neither.
Okay,
if
It's
they
a-
want, sorry.
No, sorry, it's a temporary, it's a temporary banner posing as a sign, but it doesn't fit in either category. It's just something that isn't allowed. In
So
general.
we're good, okay.
Yeah.
If they want a sign, it needs to follow the sign rules. And if they want a temporary thing, it needs to follow the temporary rules, and this doesn't fit either.
But for sure, some awesome sandwich board that says, like, right on it, now serving lunch and put an open flag or whatever that looks like. But I'm not touching the sign rules because those have been hashed out for a year.
If they want to adjust their signs so that this fits within their sign square footage and meets the sign requirements,
Yeah, true.
that's up to them.
That's another choice.
I'm Caitlin Jerome. I'm the general manager of Chop and Lure. I do understand the banner signs. I was trying to see if maybe temporary could be something between 11 and 2:30. But I definitely understand. It was something I did want to try. So I could possibly do just a flag that says lunch, because we can do up to 3. And I only have one open, so maybe just one flag that's like my open flag that just says lunch. And my sandwich board that I would, of course, get approved, would be okay. I just wanted to see if I wanted to try something new.
No, well, you can't get a yes if you don't ask,
Yeah.
right? So, I actually don't remember the flag. So that fall within it?
Well, the flag rules are called out,
Written in
I
here,
forget
okay.
the section, but as
Okay.
long as it conforms to that. I think
Right.
it's fine.
No more than 15 square feet.
But yeah.
Yeah.
No, I
and I
understand why
think they
you
gotta
went
come
for
in
it.
now.
Yeah.
But. But yeah, you got Chops open for lunch now.
We need
That's
a
right.
motion on that, or have we sufficiently clarified for your purposes, Ben?
I would say that as long as there's just the understanding, it can be, approved as part of it. So yes, we're good.
All right,
You keep saying approved as part of it, but
Uh,
what are you approving? I don't.
Uh,
We're saying this is not a temporary sign, so therefore it's not approved.
yeah, sorry, that's what, I mean, it's
We're
part of it.
denying what came to us.
Yes, excuse me, yes, I'm saying in terms of when we're talking about it, yes, I get the understanding and then it will be taken care of. So it will be,
Okay.
so any flag they put up will be in compliance with the code.
yes.
But
Or sandwich board.
Yeah, but if they use a sandwich board, she's gotta get a permit.
Yeah.
So it'll be,
You got-
So-
when they resubmit it in, as part of it, so essentially as part of this, what was discussed is that if it was not approved, that it would be resubmitted and then it would be
Okay.
reviewed as part of it. That without having to go through, the fee again, it just would be a new thing that we did. So,
I mean, I think it's important, we're careful not to say these are all the conditions you have to do this and cite back to the code, because. If we forget a condition, you could leave somebody here saying, okay, well, if I have checked these boxes, I'm good. Which was why I would circle back to saying, yes, I mean, like, you could put a flag up that's compliant with the code.
Yeah.
My understanding is is similar to what you've got, but I would fall back to the code.
Yeah, and I would definitely bring it to the village.
so yeah, we'll discuss after for
Yeah.
resubmission.
Okay, let's go on to 5D, site plan review lure.
All right. So this is something as well that's being discussed for Lure. So essentially what's being proposed is an extension to the patio area, which includes a retaining wall as well. It's important to note that this is in a B3 downtown district. Essentially as part of this, there's approximately a 28 feet by 16 feet patio that would be as part of the proposed extension. And that the proposed retaining wall would be composed of timber, which is an approved material as part of this. There would be some grading and drainage changes as part of this, but generally it would be within the 2 feet standard where it wouldn't require any plan as part of this. It is important to note this is also part of the historical overlay district, which would require an additional design compatibility review of materials, appearance, and visual impact of the area's historic and waterfront character. And then as part of this, it's important to note that by expanding the patio area, that it would increase the intensification of the outdoor seating, which may require some additional site plan review for the parking requirements that are associated with it. As part of the dimensional review standard, The overlay applies to the addition of the B2 district unless explicitly modified. The intent of the overlay is to preserve the historic pattern along the west side of the North Bay Shore Drive. Generally, if this was proposed as part of it, I did take a look at the different setback requirements and it would generally meet the standard for the rear and side setbacks, but there is some leeway that is provided to the Plan Commission for the B2 historic district as part of this. And then, like I said, there is also a conversation about what would occur with the parking requirements that would be associated with this based on the additional intensification of use from the outdoor seating area that would be proposed.
And so Ben, the setbacks that are shown here are based off the existing road or the plans for the triangle project improvement?
So this would be for the existing roads. We're
As I
taking,
recall, when the triangle project goes through and the parking goes through here with the curb,
So in that
eat
area
into it more.
where there currently are 4 pull-in spots, that's all gonna be parallel parking. In the new redo of the roads, so they'll be losing 1 parking spot up there, there's currently 10, there'll be 9.
yes, I mean, right now we're basing it off of what is existing.
So Ben, this is in the B2, not B3 district.
Yes, the top one is where it says B3, but yes, it is, sorry, it looks like it's there throughout, it's a little bit different, but yes, B2 is part of it.
The B2 historic overlay.
B2 historic overlay.
Have they pursued the historic designation in any of the work they've done up until now?
I do not believe that there is anything that has been done, correct, in terms of historic.
You've not pursued any of the B2 historic up to this point? So it still falls under the B2.
Yeah,
There's a weird, and unless my interpretation is wrong, is you have the option to decide historic or not in B2.
yeah, you get some additional
Legal.
benefit for doing the historic
Yeah,
overlay there.
not that there's any impact on this at all. Or the other, but
Well, I mean, it could be a useful tool for them if they want to, especially if there's a parking situation.
well, actually, in the historic overlay, restaurants are not a permitted use, so.
That's right, it only goes to housing is what picks up on the
Yeah.
parking.
I'm not sure. Even Jerome, the chop and write it, if I would do that for the next part of it. If parking is going to be something to think about, because the choir loft was originally part of the numbers with the building, and we don't use that, it's now storage. So that, the choir loft was used for seating and dining back then, and we started using it as storage. And so that was about 20 to 30 seats up there. 30, I think is pushing it, but I think it was about 20 to 25 seats up there. And so I don't think it goes into a parking situation because we're kind of,
So how many seats do you have available currently using your patio, and then what would it be with the addition? Your total seating?
inside, we have about 150. And then outside, we have about about 50. But I think we can go over 200, and we don't use the choir loft anymore.
So, I mean, even at this point, parking is
Per
a
square foot.
non-issue because you're way over capacity for the number of parking spots you have in your lot.
So we're over,
We,
even though we don't seat all at once.
Is it per seats or is it per square footage?
Well, it can be for. It works both ways, and it's a max of either, whether it's 4 people or square footage.
Well,
But I mean, my point is that parking is what it is.
you can't add it.
There's nothing that can be changed there. So I'm also not clear on your proposed addition for the patio area. is it parallel to the street or toward the bluff?
It's,
Cause what was kind of drawn and what was shown by Ben didn't match up.
What about page 41? You look at that one.
I did a drawing.
So it's on
Oh, I
page
kinda-
41. So this is, I
Yeah,
took what the
there,
dimensions.
yeah.
I took what the dimensions were as part of it and then put on what those dimensions are within a GIS layout. And then that was what was utilized for the setback requirements, but on page 41, you can see the little dotted line that was included.
And I probably won't be able to do a nice perfect square around by the shape that it is out there. That would be great, but I don't think with the size that it is, it's gonna be like a perfect square, or extending out.
So it extends over the path that walks down to the building from the road.
Yes.
So it's
So
gonna be,
that's where our issue started. So we had first thought, because the water that runs down into our building, we had first thought, let's do a retaining wall, and then I'm like, well, if we do construction, why not expand, do the retaining wall and expand the patio at the same time?
so how high will the wall be when it's back at?
Well, it probably is gonna be 2 to 3 feet, I would say. Yeah, I would say about 2 to 3 feet tall.
Okay, so you're not going way back into the bluff side, it's
No.
just cleaning up a little bit.
Too much.
6 feet
and-
is what the allowable for that.
Well, my concern there also is that you've got people coming down from the road. And or cars parking up there if there was too much of a drop, it's
Well,
pretty high risk.
We're actually gonna put so much more greenery around to where there's not that possibility where people can. So we have boxwood bushes there now that separate some of the patio seating, and we're gonna expand that all the way over. So it's also a nice thing so that when people are sitting there, they're not looking at cars too. So we're gonna do that and then do Mica around. It's all that nice greenery that Carol has up there already. We're gonna kind of pull that in a little bit more as well, but boxwood bushes almost all the way around so that people aren't looking at cars.
So there's no removal of trees.
No, well, there's one tree right there, but that's not up above. This is closer
You got
to,
just that ornamental
yes,
that's flowering right now.
yes, that one, but no big trees.
So looking at the code for parking, it says 1 space per 150 square feet or 1 space per 4 seats, whichever is greater, plus 1 space for employee for the work shift with the largest number of employees. So I would hazard that the current parking, like you said, doesn't even accommodate the existing. So I'd
Correct.
be hesitant to add to that problem. Now, it does say in the B2 districts, you can have the non-employee parking can be waived, but
Yeah, there's, I think 16 spots available right now.
So I had gone to look at something totally different that came up in Parchment a months ago, and that's. And this isn't directly connected to it, other than it's on the same property, and that's the screening of some of the. Like the dumpsters back there. I mean, the cooler isn't screened, but you can barely see that, but the dumpsters, they're not screened. I don't know if now's the time we could ask to get that. Active.
That's actually gonna be done around the same time.
Okay.
So I've got 2 quotes. One is from Eric, I believe his name is. He's doing that big construction next to the side road, that big apartment building or rental building. He's doing all of that retaining wall there. He gave us a quote for the retaining wall that we wanna do. And Chris has something with him for the dumpsters.
Okay.
But then I also wanted a second quote, and I got one from North Bay, because he used to work with Fitzgerald. And so I think I would have two different people, so, but I think Garrett is doing our screened in because that was mentioned to have done to beautify Sister Bay. So
Yeah.
yes, that I guarantee
Okay.
is going to be done.
That's great.
Yeah, I know it is.
I probably have the least apprehensive about parking out of anybody up here. I think that we've got so much parking in that area. I had looked at that, you know, at some point, we probably need to look at doing a fee in lieu of parking. We do have a fee in lieu of parking. I don't think it's great. I actually ran some numbers for fee in lieu of parking for the two items from now, the courtesy review for 10674. I think that this does put a strain on the village to have that parking, and to have it be elsewhere, and I think there's some cost that the village incurs. I think that we could realistically come up with a ongoing fee that is known, that is predictable, that could help offset some of this, some of the burden that is put on the rest of the community when you have that parking spilling out there. I also think we're gonna have against what I wanted to see happen, we're gonna see more parking right in that neighborhood. There will be additional parking that's gonna be there within, you know, 2 years. Just to lay out some of these ideas on fee in lieu of parking, I was looking at saying, okay, we've done it once, and Laurel, you were there for that, and I was there when Denise wasn't at that meeting, and I made a mistake on that one because it was a one-time charge for fee in lieu of parking, where we've amended it to have it be a ongoing charge. So we, remember, we did that in front of the building on the corner of Mill and 42.
Yeah.
I look at if, one, I don't think we need as much parking as we say we need. I think we've increased that more than the burden, more than we should, especially in the downtown corridor, because the more parking you have, the more difficult you make the area to be a downtown area. So going down this rabbit hole to the fee in lieu of parking, I thought, okay, well, what does a parking spot cost in Sister Bay? And what's that?
I'm sorry, I had a question. Are we discussing that in item D? Was that part of the discussion?
Yeah, I'm still talking about it pertaining to item D.
Got it. Thank you.
This is parking related there. So if we look at that saying it's, you know, well, anyway, you're right, Sarah. We should circle it back, not get too far off on that. I think that we should look at doing a fee in lieu of parking, coming back with some reasonable number on there and saying, okay, if we really think you need more parking, this is what it looks like, instead of just saying, no, you can't do it at all.
So it sounds like, Nate, where you're heading is potentially approve the increased seating capacity, recognizing that they're short on parking spots, and a fee in lieu of parking make up the difference.
Yeah. Yes.
I know as part of the Triangle project as well, instead of parallel parking on the top part, there was a talk about utilizing some of their property as well as the village property to do pull-in spots for those first like 5 spots from.
Yeah, that would be another consideration to pick up more parking there, because if we did,
That could maybe offset some of the fee in lieu of parking
Yeah.
spots.
and I also think that we should be just looking at if anything, we're saying we need more parking. Should be more parking for the additional seats, not trying to say, okay, now you've got to magically catch up to everything. But if we could get those few extra parking spaces out there by working together with the village, or doing a fee in lieu of parking or something along those lines, I think that makes sense.
And it's how many additional seats again? I'll scroll.
I think it's-
I don't think it said, did it call out how many additional seats? It just said the size of the patio.
Yeah, 448 square feet.
How many tables and seats do you plan on putting there?
I'm hoping for 6 tables.
And how many tables?
6
or how many
four-tops.
chairs per table?
No, I'm hoping for that to be 4 tops or 4 tops and then squeeze in some twos. So I'm thinking 6 total tables. So I'm hoping for 4 tops and then 2 tops.
So-
But if I can get 4 or 6 tops, I would 4 tops. Thank you. I would be.
Yeah,
But it just depends on the shape of what I can get out of that spot, because it is a little, it's very uneven. So depending on what work they can do, depends on what I can get.
right. Well, and in that corner, I know it called out the setbacks from each side, but really it's the closest item, so the corner of the patio would be the closest to the road. And so what does that have to be, 6 feet off?
Yes, it would,
So as long, I mean, just make sure they're not going
right.
past that, obviously. So yeah, you'd really be looking at 4 additional parking spaces.
And I think it wasn't,
Changing the parallel spots up there from parallel to pull in, I thought was 3 or 4 spots.
There's currently 4 or 5 current pull-ins. But when they widen the road in the proposed plan, those go to parallel.
Yeah, one of the options that, Robert E. Lee brought forward was using some of their land, some of Sister Bay's land for extending it to have full-size pull-in spots along there. And they thought they would be able to engineer that. It wasn't in the like
Yeah,
plans that I tried to look for it before the meeting, but it was like in August or September of last year where that was one of the options for.
well, one of the challenges then would be the removal of the cedars that are there, stuff that would really change the character of that corner.
I think where that was along 42, it wouldn't impact trees from the picture I
No,
remember. but I
this was
couldn't
on the
find-
bluff, not on 42.
Yeah.
You
it
wouldn't
was-
have cars backing out on the 42.
No, it wasn't on 42, it was on Bluff Road, right at that corner where there's some partial pull-in spots now.
Yeah,
And they would adjust the grading and they didn't think they'd lose any trees. I tried to find the picture so I could show you, but
well, I have
can't.
pictures.
it was part of the presentation, I think.
Yeah, I remember seeing it, but I couldn't find it again. Where Robert E. Lee proposed that as an option.
So I guess the question is, are you allowed to add seating to a restaurant without having the addition, the parking required, which that's, I think that their grandfather, all the stuff they have, I would say grandfathered in this way. But without adding the additional required seating, the only other place I can think of is actually, okay, here's my question to anyone or to you, because you clearly work with CHOP too. The outdoor seating in front of CHOP, has that always been there? Like outside seating?
When they built the building, yes,
It was there?
yeah.
Okay, somebody told me it was added and I was gonna say, what went on there? Cause CHOP doesn't have them. Like, what did the bill, you know? what
It's got
the plan
credit.
said?
It's got credit for parking in the
I
parking lot
mean,
behind
you
it.
know what I mean.
I'm just gonna
Not-
say it every time I say it out there, I'm gonna write on the record afterwards.
Okay, so that's not a good run. I don't know, is it allowed? There isn't really a rule.
Well, I mean, for what the
You can't add
code says,
structure,
it can be,
but.
it's an option to be waived in that district.
Mhm.
And then that's what the in lieu of parking. Says if you can't meet the requirements, then the fee in lieu of parking is allowed.
Could we ask, if we approve it, could we ask that if it were to come up where it would be reasonable for the village to work with the property owner to add parking spaces when they redo the streets?
I think we better leave that as independent. I don't think we can tie.
I don't
Anything
know,
there.
yeah.
I mean, right now, they're already so short of parking spaces that the conversation is kind of pointless,
Mhm.
you know.
Plus, she said they're not using the choir loft for seating,
Right.
which originally the parking spaces were based using that seating.
No, they weren't. Look how many parking
They
spots
just
they
didn't
have.
have the
There's
rules at
16.
the time.
Well,
They're just
that's-
different. rules.
I know, and that's my point. is
It's
that
not
that
adequate.
It's not adequate, and it's not gonna
right,
get adequate,
right.
so. There's not much that can be changed. We're making
So
a,
people are gonna have to walk.
we're making a tight situation tighter. If we approve an additional 20 seats. Or 16.
Well,
If we're adding an addition to the building, I would say no, because that's clearly called out in the B2 overlay district. That you get to keep everything you had before, but you cannot add to the structure. But it doesn't say anything about adding patio. At all that I saw.
it's not adding patio, it's the, I mean, like, it's the seating on there that's the issue as much as I'd like to see.
That's what there's a.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear your point, Skip, on there, and I think that what I also look at is, okay, what precedence does that set for everything around the B2 district? Because we've got some unevenness there, and I think that there's ways we can deal with that. I really believe strongly that fee in lieu of parking, the parking benefit district and all kinds of stuff, there's a whole framework to deal with that. Because there is an additional burden put on other folks. I'd really like to see us have that framework. I'd really like to see this happen. I'm glad you caught me, Sarah, because I would have gone on a long ways with that, because I've got lots of feelings about this, but we're not there and we don't have it as agenda item today.
So what do you
So
suggest?
are you, I'm not understanding what you're saying. Are you saying we should consider this with a fee in lieu of parking?
Yeah, I think that we should get a fee in lieu of parking fully baked, and then I'd like to find a way to say yes to this, but I really hate to say it, but we probably need more parking to for this to happen, and that kills me to say that, but I think you're right. And if we're gonna put a burden on other folks, we should, we should have a way to recoup that, to make it so that we are covering the expense of the additional parking we're adding.
I have a question.
Yes.
So fee in lieu of parking designates that parking spot for that business, correct?
No,
No?
you'd have let's just say you wanted 10 parking spots and it was $100 a year for a parking spot. You would pay $1,000 for a credit of 10 parking spots. Then the village would take that $1,000 every year and apply that towards parking. Parking benefit district is usually what happened. In this case, it'd be B2 and B3. That'd be the reasonable way to have it be that district. It would go towards a parking improvement or related costs
It's
in that
supposed to go
area.
into a fund to be used to facilitate future parking.
Okay, so it's not gonna.
It's
really
not gonna create more
benefit-
parking,
No.
it's just.
It's not gonna benefit them, okay.
It's just it's paying so that it is, parking does not have to exist so that future parking could exist to be put in this fund.
So like people that are benefiting from the beach parking or the parking lot, across from the beach, like there's a lot of parking around there that is clearly benefiting some people. So it's to look and say, okay, well, one, we need to maintain that because that is going to require maintenance. It has ongoing costs. And I look at it as making it more democratic.
Or offsetting costs of the shuttles or other options that we
Yeah.
provide to help folks get around when they can't back park.
Mhm.
Do we have a fee structure in place with fee in lieu of parking?
We have it's pretty rudimentary. I'm not comfortable advocating that we do that right today because the thing I don't like about it is there's no cap on the village side, so you don't know what the next village board is gonna come in here and say, okay, we wanna make it 10 times as much. I don't think that's good. And I think that we kind of pulled a number out of thin air. And it's not a bad number, $1,000 a year is not crazy, but
For space?
yeah. Now, if you start breaking it down,
Yeah,
you
no.
look at a 20-year on there,
I
it's.
just know it.
But I think that's a conversation that needs to be had, so we come up with that number together, not just.
That number's not currently specified in the code anymore, correct?
That should be in a fee structure somewhere else outside the
I-
code.
I think it is in the fee.
It's,
It's on the fee schedule.
Yeah.
yeah, it says somewhere,
And
I could look that.
It's been, for the folks that have had that as an option, that's typically we have that as an annual, fee that's been applied at the same time and mailed out and billed out.
Yeah, and that's another thing is you also have to have a mechanism to annually do that, because that's not something that we don't have that infrastructure. Not hard to do, but it takes time, and it takes money, and it takes manpower on an ongoing basis.
From a logistics side of things, if we approve that they can expand the patio, plans would have to be submitted for how it would be reconfigured, drainage, that kind of stuff, right? Or no?
For this one, just because it's not really going to significantly change beyond the 2 feet period, it really. is not.
It falls in a not required.
Correct, it's part of the exempt category. Really, it's not gonna be changing significantly in terms of the grading or anything of the such. Everything's below what we're looking at in terms of the retaining walls. Really, the significant issue that's part of this is the expansion component with the additional seating and whether or not parking. If there be any exemptions for parking or whether or not any other parking requirements would be applied, because there is gonna be an intensification of the use for that area.
I think another question I asked myself when I'm looking at parking that we have a bit of leeway when it on planning commission as to how to implement parking code is this a destination? And I think that realistically, people, if they're gonna go to Lure, they're probably not coming to Sister Bay and saying, oh, I think I'll go to Lure. They're probably going there. I don't think it's a, oh, and then I'll stop there too sort of place.
You mean you think they're coming to Sister Bay and then stopping there, or you think they're coming here
They're
to have
coming just
dinner?
because they're coming to Lure for dinner.
Yeah, I think that was their plan. That's not.
Yeah.
You know, I think that some of the traffic downtown, people would just happen to stop at these locations because they're going through there. Which means you're not having another, but you don't need a parking space at every business that somebody visits. They only need one parking.
Yeah, if they're parked and visiting 5 businesses versus just coming to one.
Yeah. And I think that actually is something that's pretty relevant to how we look at parking.
This is hard. If you had just asked for a patio and you were just gonna put some like waiting area benches over there, we would have been like, yeah, no. But adding tables and adding extra people, eating harder.
Everybody just loves outside.
Yeah,
And we
for
have
sure.
people that wait and will say, no, I don't wanna move. I'd rather sit outside and wait, and
Wait to sit out.
I
Do you
you have
find-
2 months where you can kind of grab that. I'm
Yeah.
hoping this year maybe 3.
Do you find that you'll have the entire outside full and people will still be waiting and there's like a bunch of tables wide open on the inside?
Depends on the day. I mean, we have people that, the work that Carol does on our greenery and landscaping,
It's beautiful.
it is, and people, they will actually go down to Husby's, or I'll try to send them to Chop and say, while you're waiting, why don't you go enjoy happy hour over here and then come back, I'll have your table ready. And so, once they see the outside, even if they didn't book it, they're like, I wanna wait for that. And it's just something I wanna pull in, and I think it would be huge for us.
Mhm.
Carol did the project too, she's like, it's gorgeous, I wanna keep it growing.
Yeah. And the gardens,
I guess I
I don't wanna go against, I don't have a huge problem. I think it's beautifying the area, screening everything back there too. I mean, I get it. It's stuff you're adding more traffic and you're not adding more parking.
If we were willing to work within the structure we currently have and the feeling of parking, I'd be inclined to go along with it.
How do we say that with Nate saying we wanna revamp the fee and the parking structure? I don't.
Well,
don't wanna
I mean,
put all the
that's
somebody in.
a future agenda
Yeah.
thing.
So it would be the
Right now.
standard fee. I mean, yeah, if it's making it at the time, it'd be the standard fee that'd be applied, but it could. You know, we're already discussing some of the items for the zoning code review, it just would be potentially added as part of that as a item to be discussed.
I mean, I suppose how would we feel if they went with the existing fee in lieu of? They wanted to pay that this year. If they were to add 4 spots, would we be okay with it?
Yeah.
Yeah, as part of the Triangle project, if we were deeding some land to allow 4 additional pull-in spots there without, meaningfully.
Well,
adjusting the
I mean, this
trees
is
or whatever.
part of what the fee in lieu of parking should be going toward is when you're making parking in the
Yeah.
village.
Yeah,
You're spending on that, and that's all purpose.
So that, I mean, I understand that's a,
I know it's not a perfect solution,
yeah,
but to me, it's kind of that or denying it. I mean,
yeah. And I think my hesitation is just because I understand the fee in lieu of parking, how we set it up. It's got some flaws on it that needs to get fully baked through, but this is what we have. This is what's here today. This is what the village board has approved. It's what we've got.
Is there a maximum on the fee and lieu parking?
I mean,
Their pocketbook.
It is, but also the planning commission has to approve it.
So, yeah, okay, so I will just tell you why. I Google it, so AI says it's $1,000 per stall. With historical board discussions proposing a $3,000 maximum charge.
That's what
So
it says.
whether it's 4 spaces or 5 spaces, or 3 spaces, you're charging $3,000.
So I want,
I don't know if that's in there or not, I'm just telling you what
It-
I'm seeing,
it was a discussion point several years ago, and I don't see.
so it's not in there.
I wanna say that there was a discussion of it being $3,000 per stall at one point.
You don't know.
In our code, I don't believe that we have a maximum
Okay,
currently.
No, but
I was trying to find it.
to use fee in lieu of parking, you can't just walk in and say, I don't have any parking. Here's a pile of money, I never want to deal with parking again. There is a,
So you're saying approve it as long as they pay the fee in lieu of parking,
Hmm.
and then knowing that we may adjust that fee starting in 2027 or something, but we have not had time to go through that at all yet.
And I think
We
based on
have
the
to work-
calculation, it'd be 4 spots.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have to work within the structure we're given right now,
I know,
regardless of
we
what.
can't just change.
Okay, I'm gonna ask another stupid question.
Mm-hmm.
Husby's has the garage outside. Is crammed with people in the summer. Then they have the restaurant inside, they have the other side, they have the bar. Where's all their parking?
I guess that is a
So
good
what-
example, were they required to
I
add
mean,
anything?
I
when
don't
they did
know.
that?
so
it depends when so like it's reevaluated when an addition is made as part of it.
But we're not considering this an addition. It's a patio.
Well, it's an
It's
additional
additional.
seating.
Okay, it's additional seating, but
there was a,
I just see like, Wild Tomato has a lot of people and pretty much no parking. They park everywhere else. They park over by the beach or whatever and they walk there. So it's almost like you're not being fair to them because they're not right in that little cluster of everybody crammed in where there's absolutely no parking, and so that's the way it is.
But to that point, if Husby's came back and said we wanna do an expansion for the garage part 2. Or Wild Tomato said our beach bar is gonna double in size, we would probably have the same.
Yeah, but I'm
discussion.
questioning, how did they get approved prior? Cause that,
You can't deal with what happened under previous sets of rules.
I can tell you what happened for all of that, and that's, I mean, I see a guy sitting in the front row who's got a lot of feelings and he's managed to stay quiet, so good job. There was a parking moratorium, there was no parking required to add, and that was back when things were looking pretty rough for the village. And we have a downtown because we didn't require that parking. I think you're right, though, that it is somewhat unfair to say, okay, well, you weren't you didn't do it at this time, so now we're gonna ask for parking, and that's where I look at doing something like the fee in lieu of parking, of making it more fair.
but I mean, you just said earlier, we don't have a parking problem, so either we do or we don't, or I don't know.
Well, fee in lieu of parking is in the code and the parking spots are in the code. And we don't have a parking problems in opinion.
Yeah, I mean, that,
So we can like iterate based off the code.
yeah,
And then we can change the code if our opinion is a consensus later, but.
So in the meantime, what happens with this project? So if we
I think-
decide to go with fee in lieu
it'd be $4,000 for fee in lieu of parking, and then they could go ahead with
every
it.
year,
Mm-hmm.
so
Is that total?
I imagine she would have to get somebody to say, okay.
Of course, I mean, she's gonna have to get an okay for somebody to do the work for all of this, but. I'm not saying it's perfect, and I guess coming back to just wanting to defend my opinion there, Laurel. I don't think that we need to force people to add more parking. If we forced more people to put in parking lots, we wouldn't have a downtown, we would be stretched
It'll be
out.
parking lot.
It would just be a parking lot. But at the same point, that doesn't mean we don't need to do something to more equitably manage our parking situation, where it is, I mean, Wild Tomato really made out on their timing. Wild Tomato also really took a big chance when they did that, because it was not looking great, so it wasn't quite. It wasn't quite as unfair as it seems, because there was a timing aspect of it.
Well, and recognize too, Earl, that even in the current situation, at 200 seat capacity, they should have 50 parking spots. They got 16
Plus spots for employees.
plus employee, yeah. So again, we can't deal with what history is, we can deal with what we have to work with today. These are the guidelines we can work within, and either it works or it doesn't. I hate to say it that black and white, but it kind of feels that way.
I think that's what it comes, I mean, we should probably ask Ben, our administrator here, where we're at, I mean, like, if that makes sense to you, does that 4 spots, does that seem like an arbitrary number we're coming up with, or does that seem to make?
No, I mean, based on the calculation as part of it, it seems like the alternative would be, it's either that it could be considered an exemption, or it's saying that, parking is a concern, and that ultimately putting it in the parking in lieu would, eventually solve the problem. And again, it is under the mechanisms that are there, today, but I think in terms of the 20 and the 4 spots, 4 stalls, that's fair. I mean, it has to be a consideration of whether or not, that is feasible.
Well, then it's just a business decision.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. It'd be a condition that would be imposed, as part of it, but yes, ultimately, I mean,
But a lot of it is shared with everybody else in the village. Like, we have people that park in our spots and go to on deck or the sandwich place or and walk down into Sister Bay. I feel like everybody should be shared. So I thought that's what we were doing, is sharing, and then we're talking about adding spots.
I mean, this is like Skip said, we're using the mechanism we have in place to say, well, this is what we can do. We can't tell private landowners, you have to let your parking be used by anyone else. Hopefully, the majority of the community looks at it and says, okay, a rising tide floats all boats. And I think that a lot of Sister Bay does look that way, but not everyone. And that's really what we'd be looking towards doing. As part of this, and I understand it may not feel great because you're the first one to have this come up, but this is something that, a mechanism we put in place for this to try and really make this a shared problem or a shared issue that we can all work together on.
No, we had to use it last year down
Yeah,
the corner lots.
And I don't know if we're allowed a choice, but if you're going by the square footage rule, it would only be 3 spots.
It says whichever is
Yeah, the greater.
larger.
Oh.
You try.
Um,
this is an alternative I'm coming up with. If somebody else has something else they wanna, is there another way that you'd like to see it go, Laurel? I mean, I can't say I think you're wrong on what you're saying.
There's just so much space in the village. And I mean, if people wanna go there, they're gonna find a way to get there. Whether they park up on the hill at the church until the church starts screaming and says you can't park here, I don't know. But it just seems to me that Husby's is like the perfect example, because they crowd so many people into the garage in the summertime. And they're parking somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, if they wanted to do something in the future, and at some point they're gonna want to, and if we have this structure set up and we're making good progress with what we're doing with that funding in the parking benefit district. That may make that more possible, and that may allow for us to do more shared parking. I mean, that's what you'd look at spending the money on.
Yeah, I mean, in the immediate area, as these roads get reconstructed, we're adding parking within 2 blocks of this. It's costing the village money to do that.
So that's what the fee in lieu would go toward
In concept, yeah.
in concept.
Yeah, I mean, we need to tighten up our fee and like, we have it as a very rough idea here. And like I say, I've got a lot of thoughts and a lot of ideas on how we could lay that out that I think would work, but that's a whole agenda item that we need to tackle. And like you said, Skip, this is what we've got in front of us. This is the tool we've got.
Yeah, it's not perfect, but it's what we have. I mean, I'll put it in the form of a motion and we can take it from there. That we would allow Laura's patio expansion as presented with a fee in lieu of parking at 4 spots.
Okay. Motion by Hydar. I'll second by Bell.
Would we need any language to talk about the road expansion project and, or would that be handled at a completely separate date?
I think that we probably handle that separately, and then in that conversation with the village and them, they would say, okay, well, we will give you. These, if you give us this space, we'll give you so many of these spots that are credited to you permanently.
Yeah, which offset the fee and lieu
Yeah.
of parking potentially. Okay.
Which helps to bring back the numbers that they already have, so.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Alright,
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
I have a
Yep.
Cause this is my first time doing approval. So I'm gonna go back to Jody and Chris and tell them about the fee in lieu parking, and then we could potentially get things lined up if they approve that to start with the retaining wall and everything, right?
Yes,
Okay,
I mean, you'll be in touch with Ben on the.
Yep, I can send just a summary of what we're, but yes, I mean, as a condition of it, it'd be for the parking in the, for the 4 spots.
yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, it can be.
Yeah. With the new road construction, that's gonna help lower water coming down too with our retaining wall, so thank you, because it's just coming right into the building, and this is gonna help so much. And we've had to sand that things to like kind of go in a different direction. And so I think both of these are just gonna help the building move a lot.
We talked about that a lot at Parks.
Thank you.
Okay. As much as I wanna skip E, we'll go to E now. Not make Miles wait any longer.
All right, yes, thank you, Miles. So for this one, it is a courtesy review, for the Friends of the Ice Rink for the ice rink reconstruction project. So essentially, as part of this project, it is a proposal for the reconstruction of the ice rink at the Sister Bay Sports Complex. As part of the courtesy review, this is, non-binding, but it does provide input, for Miles and for the village to make any last minute adjustments to the proposed site plan prior to moving forward. These items, in terms of the plan, the actual site plan review are included as requirements as part of the operational agreement for this. What's being proposed as part of this project is that it would construct 2 full-size 85 by 200-foot ice rinks. And then it would also be a resurfacer building, a cooling shed, and associated equipment yards, fencing, gates, and related utility and grading improvements. So then as part of this, it's included as part of a P1 park district, which does accommodate the recreational and accessory uses that would be associated with this. It would, as part of the agreement, it does have an April 1st, 2028 reconstruction requirement as part of this. And generally, just wanted to read off the executive summary, but there is some additional information regarding the permitted uses, the setback requirements, accessory structure, parking, and then just generally talking about what the intent is of the courtesy review. So that's included up to page 50, and we'd be looking at page 51 and 52. 51 shows the actual existing site plan, and then 52 shows what is currently being proposed, where you can see the 2 different rinks, and then you can also see where the accessory structures are you can see there on the right hand side. So if there's anything, Miles, that you would like to add as part of the project?
I'd just like to cede my time and talk about parking instead.
No, you're not.
No, in general, just looking for feedback from the planning commission. I know we'd also be going back, get some feedback from parks on this. We had long looked at this as probably just adding on to the existing warming house, and then when we went out with the the ice rink specialist and builder and met with, the team of folks involved in this. They actually thought, locating the chiller system and the Zamboni garage in this fashion is probably the better way to do it. So that requires us going into that grassy area behind the cedars that is, as of right now, just used for really packed county league baseball games for parking. You know, for those 8 or 9 dates a year. Otherwise, to the best of my knowledge, as a super user of our park district, I think that's about the only time that area is used is on those 9 days for parking. So we'd be looking at, with the refrigerated ice rink, you need to use the Zamboni, which is Zamboni is it's kind of like Kleenex. There's a resurfacer is the name. Zamboni is a brand, to resurface the rink, and that needs to be stored in a garage that is heated and has access to hot water, because the resurfacer takes hot water and dumps it on the rink, and that's how you maintain that surface. So we need to build that structure for the Zamboni to be stored, and it needs to be heated. And if we're building that structure, that's where things blow up, but like, if we have a snow removal equipment, it makes sense to, once you start building structure, to have room for that equipment as well. Right now, parks generally takes anything associated with the rink, the shovels, snow throwers, the little skating, the blue skating things, I should know what those are called. Skating assist thing for kids. But all this either get dumped into the concession stand room, left out, or I assume maybe they moved into a different storage facility somewhere else in the village. This would provide room for that as well. And then in the winter, we provide a place to put the basketball hoops or anything that's used in the summer, because these would be, summer use would be pickleball, roller hockey, a lot of different possible uses. So that's what we're looking at. So I'm looking for feedback on what the plan commission's initial thoughts on that are, and also for building a garage, what should we be looking at? Should we be trying to match the existing warming house and county league ball field, or the park, the maintenance facility across the street, much different looking building? Like, is there a preference on that kind of thing that we should be looking at, and then we can come back with a more complete detailed plan? And any other considerations you want us to have in mind?
First thing I looked at when I saw this is, wow, you hate trees. Because
It's not
Believe me,
many
they'll-
trees it looks like.
yeah, no, but there's gotta be a way you don't need to have, and we don't need to see that building from the ice rink that much. If you could do like one lane to that, and then you can come up in front and pull up or
Plus,
something
I
like
wondered
that.
if the building could be slid back a little
Yeah.
bit, so a single drive would come out.
Yeah.
That was my
That's
first
interesting.
initial reaction, was you just clear 50 feet of trees to drive out.
And believe me, I am possibly the biggest tree hugger in this room, so I do not like to do that either. There are a certain number that have to come out to run the mechanicals underground to the rinks. As from the ice rink standpoint, those trees are really helpful in terms of blocking wind. And one, which makes it tolerable to stand out there, because there used to be no trees there, but also that helps to preserve your ice surface as well, because wind can be a deterrent in maintaining ice. So we would love to maintain it as much as possible.
And then also, when you're running those utilities, can you use that same gap in the trees to have that then paved over, and so you're not cutting a gap for the utilities, a gap for the driveway, you're not, you know, clear cutting half the.
I mean, I'd definitely be open to any discussion to try and minimize that. I'm not an expert in the utility function of it. Skylar, you've been out there and looked at it and helped us with the drawings. I appreciate that. So I don't know if you had any thoughts on that.
I guess the other thing that you mentioned, I wonder what was the reason for moving it over there?
If you look at that site plan, which that side where those are located, that would be the south end of the rinks. If with the rinks oriented that way, that puts it in the center between the two rinks, so the Zamboni, the resurfacer, can access both rinks without crossing. If you flip that 90 degrees, which is a possibility, you could put that in the center on the west side.
Well, then you got the barrier.
You have, it's done, you can do it, but you do have a garage then with a Zamboni coming out, as they do it now, where skaters and pedestrians might be gathered and crossing, so you're just having the interaction of the resurfacer and equipment with your gathering area, which just means you gotta be a lot more, you're just crossing paths with kids on skates and other people. That's hard. It also eats up what is, that area right there is really prime space, although right now, I'd say like half of, like beyond the fireplace, fire pit to the corner. Sorry, I don't have something in front of me, put this out, I'm just describing it, but, that spot is not used heavily, and we did talk about that, in fact, Skylar, I think, mentioned it early on, of maybe it'd be cheaper to put it that over there, I would say, right?
Yeah, your length of run for utilities and everything is minimized,
Yeah,
so.
And that would keep it within the footprint of the existing tree square without having to cut through it, right?
it would. I mean, you'd have, I shouldn't say that just as I'm not an engineer or the builder, but I think so, but it is tight in terms of like how much garage space you can fit between that concrete and the cedars on that end.
And if you build it there, you're gonna kill all the trees building it, so you might as well just put it in the middle where you're gonna put it, and then replant the arborvitae that good.
You might, and the good thing is if you get a solid cedar, you can grow that pretty quick, and
Yeah.
we would, even if we built this on the south end, we would screen, I would want to plant cedars around that as well and kind of repair that wall.
Screening around the buildings or just repairing the wall? Screening around the buildings themselves as well as the wall, or?
I'm thinking like, yeah, I'd want to plant some trees on that backside that, one, those would eventually grow taller in the building too, which would help with wind, but also just to hide it from anybody. Now, you don't guarantee, Fish Creek just did a really impressive project on the old downtown where they dug right next to those trees and didn't kill them, which was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well, take a woody.
They wait.
Come back a couple
But you do
years.
it, they are budding.
Okay.
What it does is it buys you time to plant the next one.
Yeah, you're gonna need 2 or 3 years and you'll see what happens to them.
Yes.
Yeah, the whole side.
The trees grow in Brooklyn. And once all that construction, so yeah, you might damage those trees and, what was the other? I'd have to double check in just terms of like the Zamboni turning radius to make it to the rink and how you design that. What we looked at with this was also, that was surprising, because once we were out there, the rink builder looked at that surface and we initially thought we had to tear up that entire concrete surface. And he looked at it, he said, we can build on top of this. So that it saves a lot of excavation, a lot of mess, a lot of getting rid of all that concrete. There is some that would have to be saw cut out, but they came up with a pretty unique solution to that, which maintains the stormwater runoff drain that's in the middle of that rink for runoff and water management, but builds on top of that. They said like this is a really solid base. You can't really recreate one. They have to create a level surface on top of it, but then you just build with what's there. I guess the question would be, from a planning commission standpoint, and is that design amenable? Or do you want us to look at the other, as Jerry just mentioned, keeping it within that footprint?
Question I have on here is, does the pillar and the Zamboni garage, do they have to be together? Is there options that would make sense for them not to be together, or is there a reason that they're tied together?
Is it just utilities to one spot, or is it?
It's mainly utilities to one spot. The garage itself, the purposes of the Zamboni, doesn't need nearly the amperage that the chiller units do. chiller units need a lot of power, we'd have to run a special
Like you,
power to them
that's 3-phase 480 goes to the chillers.
more. I don't have it off the top of my head, but
What is the technology for the chilling?
it is an air-cooled chiller system that, gosh, I don't have the details in front of
I
me.
mean, just ballpark, what type of chemical? I mean, is there anything we've got to be concerned with hazardous materials?
You say glycol?
Yeah.
Sort of a antifreeze type.
Okay. So it's not dealing with ammonias or anything else?
No, we looked at an ammonia system and it was, one, a lot more expensive. Two, there are some efficiency gains with it if you're doing a year-round sort of rink, but for a seasonal rink, you don't gain a ton of efficiencies from something that's gonna run for less than 4
3 or
months.
4 months, yeah.
And then, and there's also, like, it's just a different chemical that you gotta, it's not unsafe, but it's a thing to
You
work
gotta
on.
deal with it differently, yeah.
Yes,
How high is the maintenance building or the Zamboni building? And
a Zamboni garage needs a 12-foot tall door. And then it needs to be able to lift up to, so like a Zamboni has a,
it opens up to clean it out.
it opens up to dump out the snow, which you could put a dump pit inside. Our plan is probably to just have it dump outside. And then, but when it opens up and to do maintenance, you need to be opening it up, so it needs to be 15 foot tall it gives clearance space. So, on the inside of the garage.
Yeah, so you're looking at 20-foot building probably. And what is the screening or fencing around the chiller equipment?
That would be, I mean, my instinct is to have like a cedar that is kind of standard around here. We probably put chain link around it with cedar outside of it, I guess. I mean, I don't know what the village's preference on that is.
We could figure out something that's,
Just that's the meat code. I'm not sure chain link would meet code.
I don't think it would be code, that's.
Well, I was thinking,
Just
There
have
was
the meat
like,
code.
I would, whatever is secure, but facing that is the preference of village.
Has the designer looked at the noise produced by the chillers and if it would meet the noise requirements of the lot line, given it's really close to it?
He did mention that it was surprisingly quiet. I don't know the decibel rating or whatever. He compared it to, you go to Piggly Wiggly and listen to their rooftop generators. It's about the same efficiency output type system. So there is noise, but that's a good question.
So, sorry. But, so are these are two different buildings right next to each, so the chillers are in a building?
No. They're
No.
air-cooled chillers, so they're outside.
They're not chain link fence around the dog park?
There is.
They're,
So why couldn't they put chain link fence around this and then put cedars around it? You would never see it. It's more a safety thing, so kids can't get in there. So-
Yeah,
yeah,
You just have to be within the code. Maybe the dog park was chain link fence
now it's
against the code.
P1, so we can, because it's
I was gonna
P1, we
say,
can
yeah.
probably do,
Very little,
but Miles wants it to look
What you're
good.
seeing on the-
I mean, I do want it to look good, I mean, but,
Right, but I'm for.
I mean, the baseball field is chain link.
Yeah, it's literally the entire field is made of chain link, so that was my. I like it, I mean. Sounds awesome. I'm super excited. But yeah, I agree with maybe backing up the one building a little bit, so it doesn't have so much exposure from the ice rink side. And then
Yeah.
adding a few trees in there, I don't think that would hurt at all.
And I don't know, like, there's a good question, I think that was you, Nate, that asked, like, is there. Does that building need to be right next to the chiller units? I think we just looked at it as like, we're running that out there anyway, so.
Well, and I don't know that it makes sense to not have them there, but it's just, I'm like, okay, if somebody else had some other idea about it, understanding that, no, these things have gotta be side by side, would be a good thing to start. I mean, I really like it. I know that you'll try and save as many trees as you can. You'll plant twice as many at least as you can take out. Yeah, it's a really good thing for the community. And you think that this could actually open this year?
That is what we are working toward. So I'm hoping to come back to you with a detailed plan next month that answer some of these questions.
Is the lighting plan dark sky compliant or?
We have been
It's
in,
going next.
we've been in touch with, is it? I never know how to say their name, Musco, the lighting company that owns those lights. They've, I actually just got an email from them the other day to see what they can do. As of right now, we can operate with the existing system. We want to upgrade it to dark sky friendly lighting.
The existing system is very much.
But is that included as part of this phase of the project, or would that be included
If
as
we
part of?
raise enough money. to build it.
You know, I mean, literally, when the lights are on at the rink, as you get to the top of the hill in Elson Bay, you can see the glow.
Oh, yeah,
It's like,
it's frustrating.
but I don't know how you get the reflection off of ice to not.
It's hard
Well, it's
to,
not the reflection. The lights are not, they're not pointed
They're
down.
not directional.
I mean, they're not directional. There's not even something as simple as, you know, there's the base level of dark sky stuff that you can do, which is just like putting a little cover on the top of the light, and it doesn't have that. So it's all just, you know, it's 20 years ago. People were just
Yeah, it didn't
throwing out
matter.
standard sport lighting, but the stuff they have, what Musco sent me, I mean, it shines down on the rink, and there is very little spill on that. Now, to do that at that roof, we might need more light standards and stuff, but it would also be more efficient lighting than what's out there right
But
now.
it's something that's being considered.
Yeah. I would love to, it'd be a different thing, but if we upgrade that, I'd love to have the option to, do some different styles with lighting, where, let's say you got a hockey game on, you want it a little brighter, a little more full, but if you just got kids, if it's a night where you just have a bunch of kids doing kind of recreational skating, going in circles and stuff, you don't need big, bright sporting contest stuff. You might want a warmer light, and with some of the technology now, you can probably change that.
I was gonna say, if you do anticipate that it is gonna be as part of this phase of the project, there would be something to include as part of the lighting plan, just a consideration and part of it. So if you do anticipate it, we might just wanna have it be included as part of the design plans, for this phase. Otherwise, if it's phase 2, we can always have it wait.
But circling back on the look of that garage question. Would you be looking for something that looks like the existing warming house and county league building? In terms of what, is that our
I
best?
think also a consideration would be for if there was any future development, whether or not that building would align with any of the future development, or whether it aligns with the existing development. Because I think some of the discussion that was there as well, right?
Yeah,
Are you doing a new warming house in the future?
so the plan has always been to have like phase 1, get the rink done. Phase 2, and the village has talked about at various points, Parks has discussed whether to, like, we would need to expand the warming house because it's gonna get more use, it's gonna have
Oh, it's the
more people.
Yeah.
In some of those discussions with Parks over the years, there's been discussion of, well, do we want to make a much larger community center out there at different points? In which case, that's beyond our parameters to do, so that's why it's like, all right, let's just get the rink done, and then phase 2, we'd have that discussion.
Yeah. I have a question for this committee. Are you, if it's me and I'm building this and it's behind a tree line for the most part, except the one garage door that we're seeing basically, and maybe some offshoot of that, I'm doing a very nicely designed metal pole building, and I'm making it dark green to blend in with the arborvitae and, you know, the whole thing. Is that allowed in a park district?
I
This
wouldn't take
literally
an
from
issue with it
economic
though, as long as
option.
I,
And if done well, it looks nice.
So
It's not downtown.
again, we're getting off track with metal
Yeah.
buildings or not, but one of the issues with metal buildings is how they hold up.
Mhm.
And a prime example was this winter. Because the building that I store my boat in, they have to rebuild the whole south wall of 2 buildings. Because they got pushed in by the snow.
No. So no metal in a park
Yeah,
district.
I think to your specific question, I'm not sure reading the code that like park districts have all kinds of special rules.
Right,
And
that's
the
what
rest
I'm
of the village,
curious.
it would kill out.
Yeah, I
But I
know
would-
it's not allowed anywhere else, but I didn't know if it would.
But I will also caution the commission that if you start making your own rules for yourself and not,
No, I know,
that's a bad road to go down.
yeah.
I think my opinion on the look and feel is we're kind of been heading in the direction of what the new parks building looks like. So if I was gonna put a building without knowing what the community center or whatever looked like, I'd wanna kind of make it look like the newest building in the area for continuity. But that's just my opinion.
I'm sorry, I don't know, that looks very, there's nothing wrong with the Parks building. It looks,
Industrial.
yes, it looks very industrial. That wouldn't be my first choice. No.
No, I'm not offended.
I'm not sure that that's the direction I would see that going either. I mean, like, it could be a pretty utilitarian building. Doesn't need to be anything elaborate as far as architecture, because it's gonna be,
It'll be
It's gonna be
visible for a
surrounded.
while.
I would
Yeah.
just have it try to kind of blend in and look like it's supposed to be there. I don't think that's great direction, but not
Well,
specific at all.
probably a mixture of materials is a safe way to go.
and we want it to last a long time. I think that would be more important that this is built to last than it's going to be architecturally stunning or notable, because we're gonna be so busy looking at the ice rink and marveling at it. We'll barely even notice that building, and then all the other trees around it, especially the really old ones, because you saved all but one of the trees, will distract us, so.
Yeah, you could get by with just one or two though.
Skylar, you've been out there for those discussions. Is there any other direction you think I should get right now? Is that answer?
I think site layout's really your only question, so
Yeah.
you can nail that down. We wanna shift some stuff around one or another, otherwise we can figure utilities in between one.
Okay.
So.
I think the utility cost is gonna have a big impact on you, because every time I've seen WPS come in with a big utility, like
It's a lot per foot.
it is a lot, especially when you're dealing with some big services like that. But I don't see it, I'm fine with it going there, I'm fine with it going next to the existing warming hut too.
I'm not fine with it going next to the existing warming hut. I think that would be, you'd be putting a giant building in a place where everyone's walking around it.
Yeah, I think stuff either to that southwest corner or where you proposed it are probably.
Well, by the existing warming hut would greatly diminish your ability to do an enhanced community center warming house in the future.
It is not.
All back.
Sorry, Dave.
Well, I mean, I'm thinking about the per foot charge that's gonna come back there, and this is gonna
Yeah.
come back to.
In the defense, I think there was quite a bit of cost savings from not having to remove the concrete.
That does help, yeah.
Okay.
But it's also their money.
Is that enough direction for you, Miles? Anything else? you
Yeah,
want?
that's, no, that's helpful. That answers the main question I had. Gives me somewhere to go,
Okay,
find out how much it costs to run stuff.
Would you maybe be able to check in on the noise?
Yeah,
see if
I'll
there
follow
was
up on
a-
that. I wrote that down too.
I think it's 75 dBA at the lot line is the code. For
But if there
not
was-
the Parks District.
and that's
for a
pretty
regular
loud.
district.
Yeah. But just to check, just to see if there was just an anticipated, decibel for them.
And thanks for taking on this project. We think it's very cool.
okay.
Thank you for the time. Appreciate it.
Miles, there'll probably be some more parking discussion very soon. Yeah. So don't feel like you have to leave.
I've got a birthday boy who wanted ice cream, so I got it.
Okay, on to 5F.
All right, so this is a courtesy review for Adam and Bridget White for the Sister Bay General Store at 10674 North Bay Shore Drive. As part of this, it is a courtesy review for the general store development Materials are included as part of the two different site plans for the interior and exterior buildings, primary elevations, parking calculations. As part of the courtesy review submittal, there are a list of general items that the app that Adam and Bridget White, as well as the representatives, were hoping to answer as part of this review as well. And then generally just wanted to make note that anything that'd be included as part of the courtesy review would be non-binding and would provide some additional input for when the actual site plan and architectural review are conducted. So with that, the items that are included as part of the review items that are included on page 54, and then included on page 55 is when we start looking at the actual site plan and building plans as part of it. So I guess, is there anything that's included as part of the list that we wanted to tackle first?
Are you asking me?
Or, just in general, I guess just starting the discussion, that's usually, it feels kind of weird because it's on the other side, but if there's anything that you wanted to say as part of it as well.
First of all, it's way more nerve-wracking sitting on this side than it is on that side. No, we're really excited about this project. We've actually been talking about this for years. It's very coincidental that I'm on the planning commission now. That was not timed in any way, no matter how it looks. But we're very excited. We've been coming up to Sister Bay for years and years and years. We've lived here for years now. And we've found that there's been gaps in things that we were looking for here, and a fun way to kind of fill the gaps in some of the things that, especially as parents, we were looking for that weren't available would be to do like a really cute, I don't want to say high-end, but very nice, like general store in the middle of town with a little ice cream parlor. I know from the front elevation, it maybe looks quite large. I think it'll actually be a very cute building. We're very cognizant of the buildings surrounding it too, and trying to keep it so nothing looks like it's too big, or, we're trying to make it fit in really nicely with the surrounding area. And just improve that downtown lot, but there's nothing on it at all right now. So we're just very excited, and we just wanted to see if there was anything that stood out at all that we should be thinking more about, or if anybody had any questions, or that's where I was.
So you guys probably have a lot more experience, but I was having a real trouble in the code understanding wetland setbacks and what that is supposed to be. Is it intentionally ambiguous? Or are there not real like firm and fast rules on wetland delineation and setbacks?
So we did, yeah. So Skylar and I did have some conversations as part of this. Wetland delineation was included as part of this from the applicant side of things. And then generally when we're talking about it in terms of the wetland district, that would be falling under the navigable waters portion of it. But the specific site plan was intended to not impact what the wetland was based on the site plan, based on the delineation that was conducted.
So outside of our zoning, is there anything with the DNR or anything like that that they have to worry about, or is it?
So the DNR, so I mean, there are different wetlands that are associated with it, but it also is something with the site delineation.
But that's kind of outside the planning commission's purview, that's DNR approval. From our purview, there's not specific setbacks that.
It's just don't dig in it.
Yes, just don't dig in it. So I mean, ultimately, when we're looking at it for the zoning map, for example, it's more conceptual in terms of the actual wetland. It's based off of a 1990s wetland map. When we're actually looking at it in terms of property, we're looking at it in terms of the actual DNR wetland.
And that was last updated in 21, is that right?
I mean, overall, yes, but sometimes it is updated depending on whether or not delineation is filed.
Can I jump in and help with that?
Sure.
So we actually were waiting on a new survey and a new wetland delineation. It just took a really long time because it's been so wet from all the snow and high water table. So they did, it was a requirement, we did get a new wetland delineation that was sent over to the survey company, which we can probably talk more about, but well, go ahead, what is it, what is that type of wetland called? We did have to do a lot of research on it, but it was defined finally.
So sort of back way up here from the start. So you have a wetland overlay district that lands on this parcel, which is from 1990, and it's a very generalized wetland outlay by the DNR. So it's a large area. That's just by design. They take a lot of area that you generally are on the hook to neck it down. The Whites had a survey done, or a wetland delineation done. The line came back, although you're not gonna see it on these plans, it came back very, very close to where this plat of survey wetland line was. I believe they had a wetland delineation done back then, that was 5-6 years ago. The current one is pretty much coincident with that, so it shrinks it down. Generally 10-15 feet from your wetland district overlay. I have the same questions, if there's any village setback issues with that, sounds like there really isn't. There is an overarching DNR regulation, they have different categories of setbacks for different categories of wetland. The most lenient is 10-foot setback, the most stringent is a 75-foot setback. We're waiting on the wetland delineator, although he gave us the line, he still has to create the report of exactly what that wetland is classified as, so that we can then go and see what the DNR regulation is. My gut feeling, because most wetlands in this type of area are, that it's gonna be one of the more lenient regulations, just because it's not a high value, or I think it is high value, it's not a very ecologically sensitive wetland.
So from the plan commission aspect, it's,
Yes, Skylar Taliesin, I'm Stantec Engineering, Sturgeon Bay, Wisconsin.
And in this case, you're representing the Whites?
Yes.
Okay.
I am hired by the Whites, working with the architect who is, I believe, online right now.
So
so plan commission, the wetland is kind of a. I'll call it a don't care because we don't have rules specific to it, so we can.
well, we've had to care to a certain extent because. There's some obligations we have. There's also a sign off that they will acknowledge that they're aware of the wetland restriction. So that's really what we care about, is saying, okay, we tell the developer of the property, whatever you're going to do, it's between you and the DNR to figure out the wetland.
And they're working on it in terms of that guidance as part of it, and we were aware as part of this that there'd be a delineation to make sure that it wouldn't be impacting the area.
Question on that, so your wetland overlay district, like we said, is a much larger area than what our current delineation is. What is the procedural way to go about making sure that interim area between the delineated line and your overlay district is allowable for development? Is it simply as this new delineation overrides whatever you have?
So there's specific language within the zoning code that states that it is essentially conceptual as part of it. So it says that initially when talking about the wetland district, that it's like it's the 1990s district, it's meant to be conceptual, that overall, would be aligning with what it is for the DNO.
Okay.
It's your delineation.
Don't need it, I guess.
Yeah.
So I just want to mention that we have Eric Slavin and Michael Langer both online and willing to speak if you need them.
Hi. Just here to help answer any questions you might have.
Right. And that sounds, I'm Michael Langer, I'm with Wade Wiseman Architecture. Based on those emails that we had, Ben, that does sound consistent with what we've discussed previously, of the delineator creates the boundaries and we work off of that delineation. So like Skylar was mentioning, based on the plans we really just got today, it does look like it's an extremely close match to what was on the survey that you can see, the plat-up survey that was done back in 21, I believe.
Are you looking for us to kind of go through the list in terms of getting input on the concerns you had, Bridget?
Okay, so here's.
Yeah.
So
Oh, sorry, Bridget, you can go ahead.
All right, Michael. We had somebody go through and do calculations. When we come back for the actual planning commission review, we may add a few square feet here or there, so those could change, but they're pulled directly out of the code. We had somebody checking, but here's the question. That whole back. So if you look at the site plans, obviously very awkwardly shaped the lot, and it goes all the way back to Spring Road. And our parking will come in off of Spring Road. We can provide all of the spaces needed. I mean, and it will be quite a few. I think when all is said and done, we're gonna hit close to 40 spaces. But my only concern is this will come in the survey we just got today, but we didn't have it in this packet. There are quite a few very large cedar trees on the back of that property. It's been heavily wooded for a really long time. I mean, some I couldn't wrap my arm around with someone else on the other side, like they're just huge. We can put in all the parking that you want. Do you want us to put in so much parking that, I mean, and we'll avoid large trees at all costs, and we'll call most of them out in the survey. If we'll end up giving the plan commission a choice. Do you want us to add these extra 2 spaces or whatever it is and cut down this row of trees, or do you want us to save them? So that will be something that will kind of come up. How far do you want us to go? Because technically, in keeping with all of the buffers between residential neighborhoods, following every single rule in the book, we could still be clear cutting half the lot, which we don't want to do.
So some thoughts I had on parking, looking at this in particular. We do have some authority to reduce the amount of parking required. And I think one thing that I mentioned at the previous one is this is not likely going to be a destination for the busy season anyway. If in the winter, hopefully you're open in the winter, somebody's gonna, you come down from Ellison Bay, go to the general store, that could be a thing, but I would see most of this as being a stop at this is a non-destination business. I mean, just where it is, the foot traffic and all that. So I think that changes a little bit.
And again, we're happy to add it all in.
Sure,
That's fine, but if you guys have, hey, once we get the final plans to you.
sure.
In June or July, if you're like, holy smokes, don't take down that many trees,
And
that's fine too.
one of the
You know.
codes, one of the part of the code says we are to avoid constructing unnecessary and excessive parking facilities, reducing impervious surfaces, improve stormwater runoff, and preserve green space. So I think there's an argument that would fit into that. I would also mention to you that being more pedestrian accessible is something the plan commission can consider in there. And one thing that I saw that I'm jumping a little bit out here, but I really wonder if there's a way to get a pedestrian connection from the front to the back, so you could walk from the front of the building to the parking lot. Cause I could see people,
Thought that too, besides having to use the breezeway.
yeah, I don't know, and that may just be too hard to do with a setback, but that's something I would look at there. If you have bike parking,
Oh, yeah, we'll have a bike rack or something off of the parking lot.
so that counts as parking too for a parking reduction. And then also, other places in the village, I know that the Beach Barn has got a dedicated space for. For the trolley, but it's any shuttle bus. And that also can reduce the amount of parking requirement there. So those are some things that I was looking at of what we can consider to reduce the parking requirements. Because this is the third development I've seen on this. I think the last one was probably 8 or 9 years ago. And parking in wetlands has always been the killer for it.
Mhm.
So I just wanted to share some of those thoughts I had on parking as it came up and ways that you can mitigate that and that the plan commission can weigh and choose to still follow its code and reduce the demand.
Along those lines, would it be, again, this is my first time, so I don't know if this is allowed, but for there to be, here's a parking plan. Here's another parking plan with the trees listed that are saved because of it, and then, it gives us options to work with, or?
I mean, that'd be part of the landscaping plan, and there
Yeah.
would be an identification of, where the tree removals would occur based on the proposed, site plan, which would include the parking.
If we're going to be considering like the green space, yeah, that's something that's relevant information for us.
Okay, so that can be a part of the proposal.
Yeah,
And what about
Maybe
the,
at the next meeting, you would like to option.
I mean, I would if that's an allowable ask, but.
I think that quantifying like, this is what it. I don't know how much it has to be engineered though, because I really think the thing you're looking at is saying, okay, what trees are we gonna lose? And that could be an overlay over. You know, the GIS saying, okay, well, this is what this would look like.
Mhm.
So it. It's not no work, but it's not impossible to do. Okay,
And then the impervious cover calculation. Looking at the code, I guess you just need 10% of the lot to be green space by the code for B3, is that? Oh, am I misreading that?
Well, the wetlands will absorb a lot of that green
Okay,
space.
so it almost becomes. The rest of it could be paid for the code purposes.
yeah, and in B3, if you think about the density you want in a downtown, that's largely what that is. The green space, we should be looking at B1 and.
Yeah, and I think this basic layout does a good job of keeping the business up where the people are and still allow impervious surface.
This is the best proposal I've seen on this property.
Oh,
So where were you proposing fences? You had a question on fences.
oh, so. Up front, okay, on the street side, do you see the sidewalk on page 56? So do you see that the utilities are all right in front of the we're trying to get the utilities moved over to the south corner, so they won't be such an eyesore right there. If we can do that, or if we can't, that kind of, gosh, almost, the dotted line isn't meant to be a fence, but we were thinking like a little white picket fence or something. I know you're supposed to, you know how Sabor has like the boxwood along, and it's kind of like a living fence. We were almost thinking like a cute white picket fence with like plantings on either side, and if we can't move the utilities, that would kind of help hide those a little bit, so it would look prettier from the street. And then there would just be a wide double gate that was just open all the time instead of. We just didn't know, is there a regulation on where that fence line falls?
Not in the downtown business district.
Okay.
Are all the fence rules other districts? I know I've seen a lot of fence rules, but it's not in that.
Down there, it's just gotta be on your property
I was like,
and under 6 feet.
totally done. And not imposing on this, you know, we don't want plants like spilling over the sidewalk or anything, it would be.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing there is probably, there's gotta be some level of maintaining access abilities for the crews, cause. Snowplows come in and wipe them out like they did last winter.
It's been pretty green box.
There was a lot of consternation when those boxes went in. I can still think my neighbor Shirley Adams had a lot to say about that for many years.
Sure.
And ultimately WPS just wouldn't let you do anything. It's not that we didn't want to.
And then, you know, I think some of these are maybe, sorry, I haven't looked at this list in a while. So, planning commission's zoning permit requirement, architectural plan. Is a rendering, like obviously the plans are required, do you require like a front elevation rendering with full color? Or will just the elevation suffice? All materials and selected colors required for this submission? Most of these are probably bad questions. Will we require a drainage plan? If it's a little over half acre, or is that only if you're moving materials on an acre, or if it's on a bluff?
I thought you had a larger lot than, that was a 1 point something.
The lot is larger, but the impacted space is not. That makes sense. And then, so, you know, some of those are fine questions, and we could find those answers at a different time also. And then for exterior elevations, we know what the sign requirements are. We weren't sure what I've seen people do construction signs, like a coming soon.
It would be like a part of the development agreement that it'd be incorporated in, and when it would be allowable and then when it would be removed.
Okay,
That's
and
typically what,
does that have, like, I assume size requirements and stuff? Like, we're not putting a giant plant or anything, but A, is it allowed, and B, is there any call out?
Construction signs refer more to contractor signs out there.
I'd have to see what the exact definition, I know in terms of it, I've seen it within the development agreements that it was allowable. Generally within, like it specifically outlines what would be included as part of it.
Most of the time it has been the contractors, but there's a handful of times in business areas I've seen them.
Have you seen
it? Yeah.
Like, wasn't, I mean, I think Peninsula Five Center had one for a while. I remember seeing some, and I was like, oh, I just don't know what the rules are for it, or we don't know.
I mean, it looks like it's listed in 720 on temporary signs. Temporary signs on property during period of construction may be placed on a construction site without permit. Or there shall be no more than one such sign, no sign exceeding 18 square feet, etc. I think it's all outlined there.
And I think typically as part of it, it aligns with when it is for the construction, and that's typically why it's included as part of that.
Okay.
Yeah, you just have to get rid of it when you get the occupancy permit, is what it says.
So it's no longer coming soon, it's here.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah, just,
So-
you know, so Happy Coffee doesn't get 100 questions a day. What are they doing?
And excuse me, this is Eric Slavin here. I have a question related to whether that sign could be lit. Is it acceptable if it fell within the dark sky compliance? Could it be lit at night?
When you say lit, do you mean like a light that would be illuminating on it or an actual lit sign itself?
No. Like an old fashioned light, sign light from say the 20s, 30s, 40s, where it's lighting down towards the sign, only illuminates the sign, nothing but the sign, but it's not internally illuminated.
Okay, so like halo lighting is, I guess, is that what?
Yeah, like an old fashioned sign light where they would be top mounted to the top of the sign and then angle directed back towards the sign itself with no light spillage and nothing going upwards to the sky. So the idea is then it would be illuminated at night. Is that an option?
For regular signs, that would be an option. I'd have to just confirm that that is the case for temporary construction signs.
Okay. I don't mean to hijack the questions, but we do have in the elevation, we show an elevation of the building and we have a calculation for signage on the sheet in red. And we're just wanting to make sure that that is the correct calculation for the signage for this building, given the length of the current design of the building.
Two-story applied to the full or just to the two-story portion? To the calculations.
It's the total. It's two signs and the aggregate of which comply with the total allowed.
Well, I know how you calculated. I'm just asking on interpretation.
Yeah.
One thing I did notice, Bridget, is the overall height forest that's allowed town.
I don't think so.
I thought-
It goes off the roof line. A cupola under a certain square footage doesn't count towards height.
If you look at the building across from the beach. I remember that cupola very much because I remember Marge Gritzmacher and I did not see eye to eye on it, and then they ended up not building it, but they could have actually done even more than that.
Really? Okay.
It's like if it's under 64 square feet or what, or.
Right,
like-
64 square feet.
That. A cupola does not count towards the overall height.
Appreciate the comment though, or any
No,
questions like that would be helpful.
Yeah, is there anything else that there were questions on or concerns about?
So has it been standard practice for full color elevations to be presented to the commission?
Well, I mean, this is just the
I know we're,
courtesy review.
I know this is, but she was asking that question.
I mean,
The architecture.
in the future.
I have lost my, desire to see those based on what happened with the Marina building last month, how those elevation drawings have just become not meaningful to me, but I think that previously we have been having everybody do that. With the advent of AI, they've become.
I mean, I have sat in on some meetings online where colors and other stuff have been an issue, so
It's always been an elevation, think of the rendering of what I was actually talking about, not the projections. We've always had we've not always had color on some of on the buildings. We have not.
For the permit, it's required, right? But not for,
Yeah, not on the
Plan
elevation
commission.
drawings.
that's the hair that's being split.
Yeah. So what has happened is you've had non-colored elevation drawings and then they would come in with example colors of this is what this looks like.
well, and so that's, for example, what happened on the discussion we just had about the roof color and the villa on the stairway where
Yeah.
colors were not.
I would say that if we get a color elevation, then we don't necessarily need to see the colors in hand, but that'd be great.
Oh, yeah, no, if it's
So
representative.
if we're taking it from an architectural plans, we're looking at the renderings need to be in color and actual samples of colors and materials submitted.
But the renderings are what I'm saying
Yeah.
have become less than great. It's the elevation drawings that are really. Those are typically done by an architect versus just a rendering that somebody's feeding it into.
Yeah, like the one Dave had with the slips on the north side of the dock.
Well, yeah, so you took out ADOC, yeah.
I guess one other question we had in particular, if you look at the elevation, so I was not on plan commission when we were mocking this whole building up. And we're kind of going off of the feel of Sister Bay. And on this, and I think it's, a nod towards 100 years ago, we put the lantern. And they would be like old fashioned lanterns on the outside of the building as our outdoor lighting. Not bright LED or anything like that. And I was going through the village and I was like, awesome, they have them on the bowl and Husby's and the Village Hall has them and the Welcome Center and the post office all have these cute lanterns. And I'm like, this is awesome, perfect, we fit right in. And then I'm looking and I don't understand if we're still following the rule or not when I read the code on outdoor lighting. It says light sources shall be shielded or installed so there's not a direct line of sight between a light source and its reflection at a point of 5 feet or higher above the ground of adjacent property and public streets. The light source shall not be of such intensity to cause discomfort or annoyance. The end of it I still don't quite understand, like, what does shielded mean? So can we not do them if they're under a covered porch? Is that? There was some confusion on our end on that one.
I don't recall reviewing that piece of code. I
just didn't know if it'd come up before, and I just noticed them so many around the village, and I was like, maybe it was a new rule, or maybe I'm not understanding what shielding means. Obviously, we would love to include some really copper.
Yeah, so
But
it'd be fully shielded, direct light downward and prevent glare or spillover into adjacent properties.
I think there's a rule about lumens at the property line, right?
Yes.
yeah, and that we can definitely comply, but like, they're not gonna be bright, but. So you can't have any exterior light on the outside of your building whatsoever. I mean, that's kind of what that's saying.
It just is like direct, so when we're saying direct light, it'd be not just like a light bulb that would be part of a lantern, it would have to have some type of shield, so it'd be facing downward.
So does the cover.
Like, I guess the cover, if it shields the top, so it doesn't.
Yeah, it doesn't, they don't
upward.
have a top on that, but it's
Yeah.
it's a lantern like on the other buildings where there's 3 sides.
I think an example might be the county shop used to have just outdoor lights that shone in every direction. And then after looking at the code, they put in conical shielding so that it was directional over a part of the building and not just shining. in
Yeah,
every
but
direction. That's what I think of as shielding.
if I'm understanding what you're saying though, is it's more of a decorative light.
Right,
That's not really meant to illuminate the whole area. It's part of the accent on the building.
yeah, and just so if you're walking on the front porch, you don't trip over yourself.
Yeah.
But I just didn't know, and I was like, okay, it's shielded from the top. Like, I don't.
This is Eric Slavin. Uh, I think the lights that we all like, and I think Bridget likes, um, probably has the option of having a canopy that you're saying. And then sometimes that same fixture will have an option for a glass top. Okay. And what I would be interested in finding out in particular would be like on a porch where it's covered. I'm hoping that we could use the version that has the uplight component. And so that's kind of going to be the ambiguity. But when we don't have a cover, there's no porch above, there's no ceiling above, then we would likely just use lights with canopies
With the cap on the top.
with a cap on it. Yeah, like the Bavolos and the Carolina lanterns all have an option for a little pyramid on top that's opaque, metal, usually copper.
So that makes sense to me, and I find that agreeable, but there's obviously other folks on the plan commission. I mean, I look at that as just not wanting light shooting up into the sky, and I remember on the highway department, that was pretty bright. It was.
And then it also would be, I mean, obviously, when talking about it, it'd be the spillover into the other properties, just because this was the email that we had. With Ashley over there as well, from Lighting Design Solutions.
Yes, and the only reason I brought it up is because she called me and said that we couldn't use anything like the style that we were talking about because I think she thought you meant that she had to have something in front of the actual light so that you could not see it from the street in any capacity or the
Okay,
sidewalk. And I was like, no, I don't think so, because
No.
there's lanterns all up and down the street. I think he meant the top. But
Yeah.
we weren't sure, so I said I would ask tonight because I don't wanna do it wrong and then have you guys make me take all my lights down.
no, what was intended by that, yeah, was essentially just citing the code that it was essentially that, yeah, it'd be shielded, and that's the language that's included in there, and that it wouldn't. Have any direct light that would be downward or spill over unnecessarily into the other properties, which I guess is kind of abstract without actually seeing what the light plan would be, but generally, I think the intent has.
Okay,
So does the shielding include semi-transparent glass? That you're now not seeing the direct light source, but it's allowing.
Diffusing?
Hmm?
Diffusing the light?
Yeah.
I don't,
So when you go back to reading what this purpose and intent is. That would still meet the purpose and intent. And still not be, you basically make it so you're not looking at somebody's light bulb.
so you're saying the purpose as you read that the purpose and intent is to have it so you're not seeing a bare light bulb.
Purpose of this section is to create standards for outdoor lighting that do not interfere with the reasonable use of residential, business, institutional sites. That prevent light trespass, conserve energy, yet maintain nighttime safety.
Okay.
And I think something that. Is soft lighting in immediate area without. Lighting up the whole area meets that intent.
What we've come up against in the past is a wattage limitation or a foot candle limitation on some lights, because I think I know where Bridget is going. I mean, it would limit your light design to some pretty modern looking fixtures if you had to obscure the actual lamp, or what you would call the bulb. You know what I mean? That would be very limiting to a handful of probably pretty modern light fixtures. So I think, we'll present to you in the formal plan commission meeting, some cut sheets of the lights with the amount of lamps or bulbs, uh, the amount of wattage, that's pretty easy, and just what's opaque and what's transparent. So, and then you can approve it then based on the context of its use and its location on the site.
On page 195 of the zoning code, it talks about what non-shielded means, and it just reiterates several times. Any light that distributes light at an angle above 4 degrees above horizontal. So to me, that gets to what we're talking about. Shielding is it keeping the light from going up, not preventing you from seeing the bulb at all, as long as it meets the lumens at the property line, is the way I'm reading
Got it.
And I would say that instead of looking at wattage, lumens are what I'm gonna be looking at, because it goes across types of lighting and also color. Will be the things that we've looked at.
Well, that's what Dark Sky recommends, 3000 Kelvin.
Yeah.
Which is
Yeah.
Okay,
it's
3,000 Kelvin, good.
So I guess, were there any other questions or concerns or anything we should be double checking on?
So I don't know, this feels weird because I don't know how far into kind of like the overall design plan commission really generally gets into.
Oh, like in the interior?
On the exterior.
Oh,
And I did have some questions, but they're not really relevant on the interior. But like on the elevations that you showed us for the front, there's a couple of things that seemed a little inconsistent. For instance, most of the windows, you've got divided lights on just the upper part, but a couple of them, you go the full on the second story.
oh.
And another one was kind of the number of columns on the porch. Part of it, the impression, it just felt really busy
Okay,
overall. That's all I'm responding to. And I realize it's personal, but when I look around what's in most of the downtown area, this has a lot more detail to it than a lot of the other buildings.
yeah.
And that may be what makes it feel busy.
Yes, and for sure, especially if you're using, trying to do a mock-up of any type of shingle or anything, it automatically.
Oh, I know when you put
Adds
shake on there and yes,
Yes,
I understand.
yeah, I think the point was trying to go with something, trying to build a building that could have been here 100 years ago and could be here 100 years from now. And we really did a lot of like a historical deep dive on what detailing would have been used in that time period and tried to recreate some of that in this building. Knowing that we could just do lap siding everywhere and make it very simple, but we would rather make the investment and make it an incredible building and put some nice fun details on it that will make it, just take it up a level.
The other thing that I like to try and offer solutions, not just questions or problems, but like on the right side where the stairways are, having the shutters closed all the time.
Oh, and so this is something that has transpired since we turned in this packet. We actually, that front staircase, that won't be there anymore. We had it in there because we needed an additional point of egress out of the basement, and we were able to accomplish that with a stair out of the ice cream parlor. So that will actually be, those will be windows.
So those would be windows, because,
Yeah, and they'll be open and it will look,
Yeah,
yeah, I get what
right.
you're saying.
because it looked like it was just like, oh, we got done designing and threw those in there. And I don't mean that in a negative way.
You know, a fire stair wall, we would have something, but no, there will be windows now and.
Okay.
Will look pretty.
I do take your comment, well, because I do think there's some things that there's something I think we can adjust. Um, and that's probably the lower sashes on the upper windows on either side of the bay. I think we could probably lose those buttons so it's more consistent so that all the windows have buttons on the upper sash and not on the lower sash. Now, the one on the right of the bay on the upper level is a door, but we have done it in the past where it looks more like it's an applied grid above. Now, we can talk with Bridget about that. If it's a door, I think it can speak for itself in many different ways of treatment, but this is really a style we're super excited about it because we feel it's super appropriate for Door County. And, it's really called folk Victorian. And I'm a bit of a closet architectural historian. So we really enjoy this style and we're excited to finally have a client that is interested in doing something of this architectural merit, and is willing to enhance the architecture of the community. But it is a little bit more ornate. Wouldn't have to be this ornate, but I think that's preference of a client preferential on in this instance. And I think it's beautiful personally, but we did the design, so we're subjective.
And on the left side, where the ice cream sign is, do they have screening, some mechanicals up there? Or,
That's just a.
On that left side where the ice cream parlor comes out, that's just a rake, a ridge. We're going to screen mechanicals on the right side above where the former fire stair was located. So we have a pedestal coming across there that can screen any sort of rooftop units that may be required, as well as
between the roof and
behind.
the fireplace? Okay. And then on the site plan, where were you proposing like the propane tank and that? I didn't notice that.
We don't have it on here yet, we would bury all tanks.
Yeah.
And,
Okay.
Good question, where they would be allowed to, because like, obviously, I know they're 10 feet off a building and things like that, we will have to put those in, that's a good call.
Okay, that's just something I didn't
Mhm.
see on there.
No, thank you,
Mhm.
because those holes are significant, we have to put them.
And. Yeah, okay.
And I think really between those two site plan options that we were presenting, our preference would be to go with the lower option, which moves more of the parking spaces closer to the building. Most of the trees are located towards the rear of the property, towards the right on the plan side, towards Spring Road. So by moving parking closer, people who are visiting the building don't have to walk quite as far. And we also can save more trees by locating as much parking as possible towards that building side.
Over to the residential.
Yeah.
On Spring Road.
Right. Right, and allowing some more buffer there from the residential area as well. Plus, there's a pretty steep grade coming from that backside looking at the GIS of the area.
I don't see that parking lot getting full very much. I just don't think that people are gonna come from that angle. I think they're gonna come from the other side. I mean, it's 280 feet to the parking lot at the bowl, or across from the beach.
Uh-huh,
It's right there, but I mean,
oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean-
someone, who brought that? Did you just bring that up to me? Somebody asked about the condos next door, asked if we would put a sign by their parking lot saying that general store parking off of Spring or in the rear, which we're happy to do if you guys want us to do that. to make sure that it's called out? Otherwise, we have
Yeah.
to go into the condo and then come back out just fine.
So just, yeah, I think essentially this morning, one of the representatives of the local condos that are the neighboring property there, they came in just to have some discussions about whether or not there would be any concerns about the access for parking, because it's in the rear, it's not coming off Bay Shore Drive, that some people might drive past it, be confused, go to the neighboring condo property and try to drive in. It's already has issues with apparently people going in and having a hard time and then going back out.
Yeah, that's pretty simple.
It seems like that's an issue, and they had some concerns about it, so they wanted to see if there was anything in the future as part of it, that there could be any signage or something that would deter people from essentially going in thinking that they'd be coming in to this property.
Signs aren't gonna change, they might mitigate that a little bit, but signs are not gonna change that. I mean, like the
People have
more
to read
words,
them and
yeah.
care.
and then by the time you put that much words on the signs, either that's all of your square footage, or it's so small, people aren't paying attention to it anyway. I'm not saying we shouldn't try and do something with that, but realistically,
Just sharing a concern that they
Yeah.
had.
No,
I think it's a really great design.
Thank you.
And I did hear you say that, you're excited about doing this design as the architect. That's I find that very interesting. I don't think I've heard that in 17 years of being on plan commission. I take that as a very good sign.
Oh my gosh.
well, thank you guys for looking everything through. I don't think we'll have all the mechanicals turned around for the next meeting, but you'll see us back here in July.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay. 6, permit activity law. You sent that over this morning, Ben, I believe?
Yes, I did. So I sent over a PDF of the most recent law here.
Small. Do anybody have any questions on that?
You know, what came through to me at like 4:30.
Oh, did it?
Yeah.
There actually has been, people have been saying in terms of timing that there's been some issues. It was sent off of the desktop. But apparently with some other things, there was issues with timing. So if that is a concern, let me know. But yeah, it was sent off this morning.
Well, I take that back. It came through for me at 2:37.
Yeah, me too.
Okay.
Okay,
Generally, we like things the day before.
yeah. I would say if we can get it with the rest of the packet, that'd be great. I mean, it doesn't have to be part of the packet, but just send a link out at the same time.
Well, it goes back to like the middle of last year.
Oh.
There only should be one or two that were ones that were extended or approved as part of it in 26.
What's the pergola, or does that come at a future meeting?
The pergola as in
Or was
just
gazebo?
chop?
Sorry, I was using the wrong
chop.
word.
Yeah, for CHOP, that is, they're gonna be coming at an upcoming meeting for.
Right, future meeting. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. All right, then. Matters to be placed on a future agenda referred to committee. Official or employee.
Be in lieu of.
Be in the parking. Was there anything that the other commissioners, I mean, I had ADUs on there, and I think that there was one other item we had last month, but I wanted to make sure that it wasn't just my list, it was the whole plan commission's list. I would say if you think of something, email Ben.
Let you know.
Yeah, let us know,
Just let me know.
and we'll start tacking some of that. Okay. And then Ben, I don't see the zoning administrator report. Could we? do anything?
Sure. Zoning administrator report. Yeah, I can include that. as part of it. I don't think we've had that to date.
Yeah, I don't, I know there's a couple things that we probably should have had on there, but. I just realizing it now is it's not on there, so we'll have to amend that.
So what in the code is the cupola thing not included in height?
It came,
I'm not arguing, I just, I like, don't remember seeing it when I read through the codes.
I don't know where it's in the code, I know my, based on experience when it came up. That it was one of Al Goki's. Well, actually, I can fill you in after the meeting, because I think you're probably off an agenda item there, but I can share that with you. Okay, so we've got the next meeting is June 23rd, 2026. At 5:30 PM. Motion to adjourn would be in order.
So moved.
Second. Motion by Headler, second by Aaron's. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, for adjourn. Thank you. So I got into Martin.